Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs.
And fucking healthy. This is
John
No, I
America.
can't
Cody.
eat pizza. Now I
This is
have
a
to wait
cheat
for a
day.
week until I eat any food I want.
July 4th is a cheat day. That's not the day to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, I have to do something very unhealthy. I'm going to go get a Yingling, which is America's first brewery. We're going to pick up one of those.
Well, anyways, folks, as you can tell right here, it is the 4th of July special episode on the Backseat
Now I have
Boys.
diarrhea and I have to burp or bad burp breath.
So we got the boys, Evan, Cody, John, and we have a special guest star who is currently away from the mic. But yes, we got the 45th president of the United States, Mr. Donald J. Trump, joining us for this very special episode of the Backseat Boys.
Your 45th and 47th, I
Uh,
get to be president twice as many times. It's because I'm twice as good as all the other ones.
Hell yeah, bro. Hang on, guys. I'll be back in a sec.
We signed in our big, beautiful bill there. There's going to be fireworks later. They're going to be terrific. It's going to be huge. America first. We invited Sydney Sweeney with her two big, beautiful American breasts, and she's going to stop by and launch them from between them. It's going to be terrific.
Yep.
We're gonna have a big UFC fight in the middle of the White House garden. It's gonna be lots of people there. There's gonna be it's gonna be bigly. It's gonna be super big. I got my pal Elon Musk with us here today. Mark Zuckerberg dropped by.
It's gonna be big. It's gonna be beautiful.
Well, we're still working. You know, I had a deal worked out with Vince McMahon, but then he shit on somebody's chest or something, and so that fell through. We had that worked out to beef today, but it's not going to work out right now. So we're working on it for the 250th next year. We're going to have some really hot women wrestlers, and they're all going to wear as little as possible and be wrestling each other on the White House lawn. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, WWE has been trying to pull all the wrestlers from all the rival companies. I hear Britt Baker is looking to part ways with AEW to join the team.
So anyway, without further ado, who wants to be the pause guy for this video today?
I can pull that.
All right, John, I am sending you the video here. Let's see here.
Gotta make this not full screen here. There we go.
All right, there we go, John. Send you the link.
What's this? Anthony Gargle Balls or something? I don't know what his name is. Let's see.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Gargle Balls a lot, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Anthony Gargle Balls a lot. Okay. Let's see here. We got share screen. Oh, I have to get Nitro to broadcast it in 1080p, so we're gonna stick to 720.
Whatever. That's lame.
I saw the option for 1080. I'm like, oh, I can easily do 1080, and then I'm like, oh, Nitro, fuck that.
Yeah, let's see. Let me catch up on the chat here while you're doing that. All right, hey, all right, how you doing, Solar, you beautiful son of a bitch? And Jacob, what are we doing? And yes, we got Mr. President on the Backseat Boys. That is indeed based. It is very, very based. All right, let me get the. Let me see here.
You can tell that he's a good.
He looks shocked that Mr. 45 from 47 is watching this stream along with us.
Yeah, it's like
he's puckering up for the massive orange schlong.
Yeah, pretty much. So, without further ado, so before we actually get into the video proper, let's just try to guess at some stuff here real quick. So, right off the bat, who do you think Ant here is going to say which supervillain should be president? What do you guys think?
Probably Dr. Doom.
You think
no supervillain should be president? If they try.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
someone that tries to be president, Superman and I were ripping him apart limb by limb.
Okay. All right, John, what were we gonna say?
I think he'll say Magneto because as I
Oh
learned from the last
yes.
video I watched of his, he doesn't think
Yes.
Magneto is a villain. So
No, yeah, pretty much. I think yeah, I think he's gonna say I'm gonna put forth two votes. I think he's either gonna say Magneto, like John said, because he's just a big Magneto fanboy, or I think he's gonna say Loki, because Loki's the most effeminate supervillain of the lot, and Marvel canonically like made him lame and gay.
oh, because he's been with princes and princesses.
Yeah,
Ooh, a
not
bit of
not
both.
not only
Yeah.
that, but Marvel's official statement is that Loki is gender fluid now. Yes.
What are you gonna say that it's not realistic for him to be gender fluid when there's insert crazy magical thing here in the world of
Yes.
Thor? I mean, come on, that's totally once there's one crazy thing, then anything can happen.
All right,
Worlds don't have rules.
Mr. President, what supervillain do you think Ant is gonna say?
Well, I see that he has Venom, who is quite literally an illegal alien. He probably loves him. He's got Frankenstein, who's dead, and he'd probably vote Democrat because the dead people always do seem to. On his shelf there, and I'm gonna say Venom because he loves illegal aliens. Most likely, he hates ice. So maybe Mephisto because it's very hot, no ice in hell.
All right, all right. So now that brings us to the second question I want to ask us before we get to the video. What supervillains do we want to see as president? Evan, what supervillain do you want to see as president?
Hypothetically, it's a tie between Doom because, he actually cares enough for his country to actually run it like a actual political figurehead and not some deranged dictator,
Mm-hmm.
or probably Lex Luthor.
All right. Yeah, that's what Mom Cedar said. Mom Cedar Lex. John, which villain do you want as president?
Lex Luthor is a smart guy. I'm trying to rifle through him real quick here. I think Norman Osborn would be. He's like a businessman, assuming you don't let him go completely crazy. I think
That
he'd be
is
all
the
right.
one I was thinking Norman at one point, but the Goblin persona might go a little.
That
I wouldn't want a Green Goblin
that
president.
might be good for negotiations, though. He'd like really intimidate people. Be like, "You can't do this to me. I built this country." And they'd be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, don't kill us! Don't kill us! We'll give you whatever you want, Mr. President."
Yeah.
If a senator pisses him off, he'll just go directly to that state district and be like, "How am I?"
Cody, what's your pick?
Well, if the Antichrist becomes the president, tries to become the president, I'll take him down.
All right. So Cody wants the Antichrist just so he can take him down. All right, that's valid.
I want Jesus Christ to be president.
All right. Well, anyways, and Mr. President, which supervillain do you want to be president?
Well, I think Norman. I'm a New York guy, as you know, and Norman Osborn. He's a great New York businessman. I think he knows he's a smart guy, and we love smart people. And he knows building and making a company. He's run a big, beautiful company. He was treated very unfairly there, and like I know about. And so I think he would be a wonderful president.
I'm gonna go outside the box with y'all. I'm not gonna pick Marvel or DC. I'm gonna say the chairman would probably make a good president. Graham Pike. He just has like he's also a businessman, like you guys have said, but he's also you can't deny he's got the organizational structure down. He runs his organization like a well-oiled machine. You know what I'm saying? So we can have the operative be his VP, and there you go. So without further ado, let's just jump right into this, shall we, John?
Yeah, we got 40 minutes. Let's do it.
Let's go.
World is not a good MCU movie, but it ends on a fairly brilliant note. The whole film redeems Loki in many ways as someone who can do good when put to the test. When his heart
He
and soul
literally fakes his death and pretends to be a king at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
are in it,
only
He
scene
goes
of this
The
video,
film's
based
third
on the couple minutes I've seen, he does bring up that point in a few seconds.
Oh, really?
act starts
Yeah.
with Loki seemingly sacrificing himself in an attempt to avenge the death of his adoptive mother, of Thor's birth mother. But we know he's not really dead. We know this game by now. We know Loki's just hiding somewhere.
Yeah, we know Marvel never keeps
The
characters
film
dead.
ends with us learning that Loki has replaced Odin and is impersonating him on the throne of Asgard. And no one knows. Thor doesn't know. The Avengers don't know. After 3 films of trying to take power, Loki has successfully seized it. And after trying to take over Earth for Thanos, now he has power over the 9 realms, over all of it, and no one knows. And with this power, Loki funds the arts.
It's an interesting play. What's it called?
The Tragedy of Loki of Asgard.
We live in a world where leaders are often not the people best suited for power. Power draws those who want to
I'm not sure
use it
how
to benefit
true this
themselves.
sentiment is, but I always believe that if Tom Hiddleston never played Loki as well as he did in the first Thor movies, he wouldn't be that big of a deal in the MCU going forward.
No.
Yeah, I think he was pretty well liked after the first Thor, and then they sort of do their first killing off of him at the end of that movie. So I suppose it was somewhat up in the air. They probably were kind of like, well, people really, although they had to have been writing Avengers pretty quickly, because it was 2011 and then 2012. So, not sure, because I think he would have at least been in the first 2, and then probably after that they would have had him more out of it if he wasn't so well liked. Yeah, as far as this goes, isn't this like the first time that Thor sees him, he immediately knows that he's not really Odin?
Around that point, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the first scene of the movies whenever he like returns to Asgard after being in hell or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, you're not my dad. Obviously, you act nothing like him."
And we got. No, go ahead, Evan.
No, I was literally just making a quote. You are not my dad.
We got Jacob Rossoff. Hassan Piker would vote for Dr. Doom as president. Ooh, probably, yeah.
he would support Latveria over the U.S. if they like tried to blow up the world, and he was like doing all of his villainous shit. He'd be like, guys, I think America might be the real villain here. I don't know.
Anyway.
True great leadership is usually forced upon someone who doesn't want the leadership but has to take the command themselves.
Never heard that one before.
But typically life doesn't work that way. We don't always get our best leaders. And fiction responds to
like
this by putting
Obunga.
the absolute worst people in charge of countries, cities, planets, universes, multiverses, etc. Comic books especially. Every so often, a supervillain takes over the world. And we see what the world would be like if they ruled. And sometimes it's not as bad as we thought, and sometimes it's
If the villains took
worse
over
than
the
we
world,
thought. So
I would
decided to
rip
pick a
and
handful
tear
of
until it's done.
Yeah.
comic book
You know,
villains who
Kill
had
all the
a-
villains one by one.
If you kill them all, then there's nobody left to oppose you.
Oh yeah, Jacob, I heard about that. Guys, the actor who played Doctor Doom in the Tim Story Fantastic Four films just passed away.
Julian McMahon.
Yeah.
So sad.
Just passed away, yeah.
He was also he was pretty good in Charms too.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, I forgot he was in that.
point taken over a
I know because my
territory.
mom's a huge fan of that show.
Same.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the show whenever they were young and hot. Not so much in later seasons.
But
Then the
let's
CW came along and killed the whole franchise.
Well, my sister's 6 years older than me, so she'd be watching for the plot, and I'd be like, pretty women, witches.
Yeah. Solar
War
enjoyed those films
with
as a kid, yeah. Anyway.
some underhanded domination to see who is the best at rule. This will not be every single villain who rules a territory. I mean, there's so many, but I chose a handful that I think are the best examples. This can include being a mayor of a city to multiversal conqueror. So, bit of a range.
Well, what's he gonna use to grade like best? Is it gonna be like bullshit like, oh, this one would have the most protections for LGBTQ people, or would it be like the more traditional ways of like this one would make his or her country stronger, expand territory, fucking
I don't
have
know.
people be richer there, whatever, you know.
He better bring up some scale, or again, we're gonna call BS on this whole fucking video.
Yeah, or it's just gonna be like whatever he likes the most.
Yeah, Solar, haven't watched them in a long time, but there's a nostalgia in its portrayal, yep. Jacob Rossov says, Sinestro was called racist by Hal Jordan in the Injustice game. Oh, well, I guess he's out then. Anyway.
I remember that Flash quote. Sinestro was like, filthy human. And Green Lantern was like, evil and racist.
Wouldn't that be like speciesist?
Probably, I don't know, man. Species, race, they're interchangeable terms.
Are they? Okay.
Anyway.
Bit of a different circumstance with each one, but we'll see how it goes. Also, we're going to exclude characters who are just simply lords of all evil by default, so we're not going to have any Darkseid, Mephisto, Dormammu, just because
way to
it's
give them
kind
the
of a cheat
shaft.
to kind of go, okay, the people who rule hell or the hell dimension would not be a good president. Like,
Who are
yeah,
you to
obviously,
say that?
that's not fun to discuss. Of all these, I don't think any of these guys should be leaders, with a couple exceptions, and we'll get to those at the end.
Yeah, I love Red Skull.
They wouldn't be as bad as where we start, is what I'm going to say.
What, really?
We'll get to that. While this video...
You know, Red Skull, he's part of the National Socialist Party, so I have to love him.
Let's see, what do we got here? Sinestro, Shazam, I assume he means Captain Marvel. Shazam would endorse Lex Luthor as president. Really? I don't think so. Anyway.
Oh, right. That Justice League Unlimited episode.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
Shazam joined Justice League and Lex Luthor.
I never call him Shazam. He's Captain Marvel to me. Anyway, let's keep going.
Miss Marvel is always Miss Marvel, not the bullshit Kamala Khan one, but the hot blonde.
Hail Briscoe!
Is not sponsored. I do want to
Hello, Briscoe.
include a shout out.
I will say,
to
it was kind of tough calling Carol Danvers Captain Marvel, because I was introduced to that character as Ms. Marvel in the Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah.
And then that name happened, and I was like, wait, when did this happen?
And then she's like, I'm gonna butch up and become a man. Now you call me Captain.
I'm a man! I'm 40! Yeah.
It is ma'am.
GoFundMe. Frequent collaborator Jazzy Oliver and Ash, along with
Look
their
at
housemate
these
Steph.
fat fucks!
Oh, that is who I thought your collaborators would look like, Ant. That is exactly what I pictured.
Oh
in
my god,
head.
one of them's fucking oh my god, that's the fucking, what is that? Like, that's the non-binary flag right there. Oh my god, bro.
I was just gonna ask, can we guess for the one on the left, man or woman? Is that the non-binary one?
No, the one in the middle. Oh my god.
I see the flag now. I thought the purple was like lesbian or something.
Help Jazzy, Ash, and Steph fight safety. Hi, I'm Jazzy. I'm a working voice actress currently living in Dallas with my roommates Ash and Stephanie. Oh, boo-hoo. Let's see, Jacob Rossop asks, would Norman Osborn run for president? I'm pretty sure he did at one point. During the Dark Reign storyline, but I could be wrong. I definitely know he ascended to government office.
By the way,
Go
thing
ahead,
on the
John.
left, get that Dragon Ball shirt off your, do it off camera because I don't want to see what's underneath there. But Photoshop out that Dragon Ball shit off your face, off your body, whatever.
We got Solar. That tells me all one needs to know about Ant, indeed. Anyway.
In Marvel Comics, Norman Osborn ran for and was elected president of the United States. He then used his position to form the Dark Avengers and consolidate power.
I was right. That's what I'm recalling. Yeah. Anyway.
But did he win the popular vote?
Trying to relocate currently, and their GoFundMe is in the description. If you could donate, it would go a long way to
We're not going to help your friends move.
My
I
friend
don't
is
really
trying
feel
to
like
in a
it.
safe
These fucking GoFundMe's. It used to be like, I'm dying of cancer. Please give me money. Now it's like, oh, I want to move out of Dallas. I kind of have a small apartment right now.
Like,
it's like, give me money.
Fuck you, give me money. Yeah.
Like,
I found the
do
official
something to acquire
GoFundMe
money.
page. I get a screenshot the description and put it on the Discord.
Good.
How about you go like get a second job or make good content where people will want to give you money or something instead of just skip all those steps. Just skip straight to the give me money.
Mhm.
Patient
I am
in the United
curious
States right
about
now.
Ant.
So
If he's trying to promote this GoFundMe, has he considered actually maybe donating at one point if he hasn't already?
I gave $3, I'll have you know, and I've done my part.
Jacob asks, would Agatha Harkness run for president? She probably would, and it would be horrible.
She would still get 40% of the vote somehow.
Anyway.
if you can do that, that'd be great. And on with the video.
There's only one thing wrong with our relationship. You always win. Tonight, that changes.
Now, let's not kid ourselves right now. The Joker would be the absolute worst case scenario. The Emperor Joker storyline gives the Joker the powers of Mr. Mizius Picklick. And with that power, Joker reshapes...
Isn't it more Mixel-Piddlick?
The Joker rules the world. I'll cut his head off.
The Stiplick.
Mixyazpidlik. Yeah, anyway.
the world to fit his own insidious, twisted view of reality. He turns the entire world into a massive parody of itself, though we do find out that he doesn't have all the power he thinks he does. For example, no matter how hard he tries, he can never permanently kill Batman because a small part of him always wants Batman alive for the chase, for the pursuit, for the hunt. So we know Joker isn't all powerful, but if Joker did rule the world, it would be absolute chaos. There would be
he just chose
no peace. There would be all the rules of logic and coherency would be completely tossed out the window.
Yeah, you'd have men wanting to be called women and all this stuff, and we'd be called bigoted if we didn't honor it. It'd be total anarchy.
Jack,
I would love, like, in this comic, if, like, they make Joker come up with crazy shit where he's just like,
and I'll make it so people can come up with their own words that you have to call them or you get thrown in jail.
they're like, oh, we already have that in Canada.
What?
Every time he tries to come up with something crazy, like some liberal country has already done it. It's like,
I'll make you spend a bunch of money to people who use it to shoot you.
We already do that too.
What?
I don't think anyone is upset I put Joker as the absolute worst case scenario. By the way, does anyone remember the time that the comics actually put the Joker as an ambassador to Iran? That was a thing.
Oh, I remember that. Under the Red Hood.
Fantastic as you'd expect.
Forehand or backhand.
I was low-key
Yeah, the
pretty sad
ambassador part,
that
that-
they didn't include that in an animated Red Hood movie.
Yeah, it'd be funny, yeah.
Oh,
See,
was that in Death in the Family whenever he went to Iran?
Yes, it was. He even got. I think he even mentions the Ayatollah in that book. Yeah. Let's see, we got Jacob here. Jack Nicholson's Joker would run for president. Mark Hamill would make his Joker run as a Democrat. And then we got Solar. Wasn't there a comic where the Joker got pregnant? Yes, Solar, there was, but the saving grace about that bullshit is that it's non-canon. It's still bullshit. It still got published, but thankfully it's not canon.
I thought you were going to say he was faking it or something.
Next.
All right.
Was in Death in the Family, so I can see why some people forgot that detail. Something else that was a little more important happened there as well.
I think a lot about Meteor, the purity of them. Boom, the end, start again.
Between Annihilation, Age of Ultron, Marvel's What If, and the comic book Age of Ultron, it's pretty clear that Ultron should never take over anything. Ultron's domination of anywhere.
I mean, if Ultron's age comes over, he'll essentially be Skynet on steroids.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's basically AI, you know. So it's not a terribly original thought.
Right.
It can very well leave all of reality a hollow, empty space without nothing in it, a void where nothing exists. It's telling that with many villains who seek destruction, like Carnage or Thanos, They don't seek out the entire secession of reality the same way Ultron does. For Ultron, dominating everything is the first step to eradicating it, leaving a cold, empty void where all is still.
He's a robot.
The best
right?
example of why Ultron should never be allowed to rule anything is the storyline Annihilation Conquest, which is the sequel to the original Annihilation arc, which focused on the supervillain Annihilus, who rules the Negative Zone, invading the universe and trying to conquer it. In Annihilation Conquest, Ultron takes advantage of the state of the universe following Annihilus's invasion, takes over a techno-organic alien race known as the Phalanx, and takes over the Kree Empire. Just immediately takes over the Kree Empire.
Like, what the hell's the Phalanx? It's like, did he have a fucking typo in the script and not correct it? What the hell?
Bugs versus robots. What are the odds they'll destroy each other?
Yeah.
Oh, I was reading the dialogue down there.
So it's basically Tyranids versus fucking Necrons. Got it.
I'm guessing Ultrons are the bugs, because you said they're techno-organic. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't fucking know.
From there, he tries to enact conquest over all reality. And it takes the Guardians of the Galaxy, Adam Warlock, just about every single cosmic hero in the universe to stop Ultron from taking over everything. His end goal would have been a universe that is...
He needs a software update, and they kill him then.
Also, I want to remind everyone to not take what Ant says at face value about anything, because again, because I don't trust Ant to give us the full picture. He could very well twist and distort shit for his own ends. I just want to remind us all to constantly doubt his synopses.
Oh.
What do we got here?
Completely...
hang on. Jacob, Ultron would think all governments are useless. Yeah, pretty much. Anyway.
under his domain, under his control, and utterly devoid of all intelligent life. It would be peace on a cosmic scale because everything that would exist would be completely under Ultron's absolute control.
Yeah, it's the old AI story.
No will of your own, just a drone of a computer hive mind created by Hank Pym. Also, if you haven't read Annihilation, you really should. That comic is fantastic.
And with you recommending it...
Now I won't.
If Ant recommends something, immediately don't listen to it, okay? Because Ant has shit tastes.
He'd be like, the Clone Saga in Spider-Man, and I'm not a comic reader, I just know everybody hates that one. He'd be like, the Clone Saga in Spider-Man, really fantastic. I recommend it.
You don't have one of those, do you?
Red Skull is... do we need to explain why Red Skull would be bad? I mean, listen, he is literally... He worked under Hitler. Like, he is a actual... real Nazi.
Oh, he said the word. Well, Jesus, why did he sound like he was gonna have a shit?
Hold on. Hang on. Red Skull isn't really a Nazi per se. Yes, he worked for Hitler, but he's the kind of guy where he's like, I'm just gonna work for Hitler just so I can get further up the chain. He doesn't really give a shit about Hitler, his ideals. He just wants to be in power, and Hitler was the quickest way to the top for him. He's not a Nazi,
even in the Captain America movie, he's making fun of him. He's like, "Oh, he's digging for trinkets in Egypt."
Yeah.
And and he's basically like, I think he kind of like used them just for resources, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
He's not like, "I hate the Jews as well, Hitler."
No.
I like how Ant sounded like he was gonna take a shit before he said the word Nazi. He's like, he's up. It's like fucking Voldemort for him. He's like, Nazi. Come on,
Nazi.
be like Mark Hamill.
You know, I hate Nazis. They're inferior to all mankind.
Calling someone a Nazi because whatever. He's an actual one. He's actual.
Yes, he's from the 40s. We get it.
The Third Reich kind of Nazi.
Yes.
Like even Joker said he was bad. Like Joker turned against the Red Skull.
This comic is
a guy
non-canon.
who other villains think of as
Ant with the very brave stance of Nazis are bad. Wow. Good for you.
You know, Germans are good and Nazis are bad.
Hassan Piker might endorse Red Skull for president. Maybe, yeah.
He just endorses all the villains just by default. If they're
Yeah.
against America, he's just automatically like, I don't know. He did kill 6 million Jews. Maybe he's not so bad.
Yeah.
Too evil for them. There's a famous storyline, the Acts of Vengeance, where Loki assembles a bunch of villains and shuffles around who fights who and whatever. And when Red Skull enters the room, you got Doom, who's Romani, you got Kingpin, who's a capitalist, and you got Magneto, who is an actual Holocaust survivor, all glaring at Red Skull as though asking, why are you even here? If you got Doom and Magneto going against you, there's a good chance you won't be in charge for very long, but Red Skull can unleash a horrible amount of damage in the meanwhile.
Also,
They've been told
hang on.
over and over.
Notice how he called Doom a Romani, even though Doom has called himself a gypsy before. Yeah. Anyway, Sentinels, here we go.
Sure is leaving them behind, but I invite them to be relevant again.
The Sentinels have had multiple futures where they take over. And like Red Skull, they employ fascism. Raw, pure
Really?
fascism focused on systemic elimination.
They're robots.
Mutant extermination.
And hold on.
Systemic-
Yeah,
Huh?
dude, systemic elimination is not a key tenet in fascism. Fascism is just all about centralizing the government onto one figure, alright? Fucking, like, elimination of something in the system is not a core part of it. Not at all, no.
Yeah, that is. I have never heard that associated with fascism before. A lot of times it'll be a byproduct because the person can do whatever they want on their whim, but yeah.
Magneto would destroy a pro-Palestine protest. Yeah.
Oh, he absolutely would.
Well, considering that Hamas walks around doing Nazi salutes, yeah, I'm pretty sure Magneto would see that on the TV and be like, I'm gonna make a little trip.
Galactus would destroy a Pride event, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, Galactus just eats everybody. He's pretty non-discriminatory. Yeah, he's just like, nom nom. I don't care whether you're gay or not. I'm going to eat you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gay? Is that a different flavor?
Do you taste like all the colors of the rainbow? It's like Skittles. Yummy.
Are just the start. This is a complete Terminator bad future situation. Days of Future Past is one of the grimmest alternate timelines in Marvel. And even the present of X-Men 97, you have Bastard who comes in from the future and hollows out humanity, turning average people into
It's Mr. Sinister.
Exploiting their bigotries to get that far, but that doesn't change the fact that he's willing to just scoop out the soul of a person to turn them into a living weapon.
After this, they wake up in their daily lives with no memory of ever being here. Maybe a mutant flirts with one of them at a local dive bar and...
That is the future that Sentinels want, and even the present of the X-Men, with Genosha, with Krakoa, with all these exterminations of a massive scale, brutal scale.
I don't know. It was like flashing, but it was only there for like a 0.5 seconds.
Jacob.
The Sentinels are not.
Jacob, Galactus versus AOC 2028.
I mean, I'd have to vote for Galactus.
Yeah.
If he was president of somewhere, he might only eat the other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Interested in diplomacy, they're not interested in letting you speak your mind. They're interested in fulfilling their purpose, and their purpose is eradication.
Of mutants.
I am as far beyond mutants as they are beyond you.
Apocalypse, the first mutant, Ensabineur. Apocalypse is an interesting case because he starts off overthrowing a dictator, that being Ramatut, who is another form of King the Conqueror. In Krakoa, Apocalypse has mellowed out somewhat. In recent years, Apocalypse has shown he is not pure evil.
Hold it! That shit's bullshit, and it should automatically be declared non-canon. That fucking
I love this pause face.
Yeah, hang on, let me get that shit real quick. That's the fucking plot. That's the fucking
It's like
that's the thumbnail face right there. There we
One
go.
ant moves in for what would that be? First base?
I don't know, man. Anyway.
It's like, what's up, baby?
Change the fact, though, the apocalypse believes in a society where the strong dominate the weak, where the weak are crushed under the foot of those with power. Age of Apocalypse is the other most famous bad future for the X-Men, and it's terrifying. It's a world where Apocalypse has broken down entire countries based on who the strongest in that country is and who he believes should rule. It's a world where
Well, as far as apocalyptic futures go, that's at least a little bit better than eradicating everything.
Yeah.
That's one point in his
Everyone is-
favor.
Hey, who's the chick in the upper right here, by the way?
I don't know. Does anyone know who this is? I think maybe
I like her
that's
fashion choice.
maybe
I would
it's
say 23, but it might just be the claw feature.
maybe it's Rachel. I don't know. Could be, or I don't know.
Rachel.
I don't know who that is. Does anyone know who that is?
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to look that shit up. Hang on,
Right on.
Jacob. She would be like, "Come here, big boy. You think you're tough for me? I'm a Bronx girl," and he just eats her.
He'd be like, "You are not even a Bronx girl," and also, nom nom.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's twisted by trauma. It's a lawless Mad Max crossed with, you know, it's bad. It's not good.
Yeah, thanks, Captain Obvious.
I like how he has to make the point every time that a villain takes over that they don't make some great utopia. He's always like, "Oh, this future is bad, and also this future is bad, and
Well-
also this future is
Well,
bad."
John, he has to, or else we, the dumbass plebs, might think it's cool.
Either that or he's filling time with virtue signaling, saying Nazis are bad.
Yes.
Bold stance, I know, but
Yes.
also apocalypse is bad.
Yeah.
I bring the purity of oblivion.
Apocalypse should never be in charge of anything, despite the fact that he believes he is the strongest and mightiest among all and thus should rule.
How do you know my name? Have you
Alright,
been to
Brainiac,
Krypton?
here we go.
I am Krypton.
Brainiac will...
That's weird. Whenever I heard your father say it, he called it Krypton. Anyways.
Hang on, we got Solar here. By the way, now that you mentioned a couple of times it's not canon, how does it work in Marvel or DC? It's got countless multiverses, whereas Star Wars is one timeline. So that's the question. Alright, well, Solar, how it basically works is, basically Marvel and DC kind of just have a very laissez-faire attitude to continuity compared to Star Wars, where they've basically just given up, really. That's basically it. They've just given up. Jacob, William Stryker would run for president, but he would use ICE to go after the mutants instead of illegals. Yeah, pretty much.
See, I feel like Stryker would be more the Dick Cheney type, where he'd be vice president or secretary of state or something, and he would just like whisper in the president's ear all the evil shit.
Yeah. Hang on. Hail, Justin. Yes, we got the Donald here. Jacob, Brainiac would also think the government is useless. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, well, any of like the computer guys are just going to go for the most efficient thing. They're probably going to either wipe out everybody or put us all into like perfect efficiency camps or something and treat us like pets. I mean, that's just what computers seem like they would do.
Yeah.
Makes
Put
sense.
your entire city in a bottle just to stare at it, just to watch it. There's something so strange about Brainiac, right? I mean, of course, he's, depending on which continuity you're talking about, he could either be
I mean, to be fair,
director of cities or...
essentially no different from us looking into an ant farm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they're just like ruthlessly efficient. So they're like, this is the most probable path for peace. So we have to eliminate their ability to ever make war one way or another. Is usually like the simple robot storyline.
robot AI that dominated Krypton and led to its destruction, unleashing an eternal war
Well, that's
against the
assuming
cosmos.
you go with that
just to
specific
keep-
iteration.
Yeah,
That's
I thought-
assuming you go with that specific iteration of Brainiac, because Brainiac originally and in a few other cases isn't from Krypton. He's from Kolu.
So didn't Krypton die from like the core destabilizing or something?
Yes.
And did they retcon that into like Brainiac caused that or
Well,
something?
it just depends on who's writing it and what version of Brainiac they go with. It's like, if they go with like, oh, Brainiac was a computer from Krypton, then they just have it be Brainiac was misleading the Kryptonians, and he was just fudging all their records so that they would think they're fine, and he could take all their knowledge for himself when they all die. That's basically it.
It's like the reverse Flash. He's like, it was me, Barry. It was all me.
Yeah.
Every single bad thing that happens, they just retcon him into doing it.
Yeah.
Barry, whenever your lunch money was stolen in 6th grade, it was all me.
Kryptonian.
The time you wet yourself in front of your crush, that was all.
I'm going to declare a ceasefire, and then where would that leave me? I was built for war.
Also, this
My
fuck,
Adventures with
that
Superman, I
version
think,
of
shows the world.
hang on, that version of Brainiac was ass.
Yeah, he didn't even look like Brainiac. He
Looked
looked
like-
more like Ultron.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario where Brainiac does dominate Krypton even after destroying it. This is a leader who will eradicate planets the moment it deviates from the desired outcome that Brainiac wants. Boom. Start again. Maybe not as total as Ultron, but very similar in the mechanical, focused perspective. And if that's not the case, then he is just dominating and controlling.
At his best, Brainiac only values the information and knowledge of a civilization. He will quickly abandon something if it's collapsing, if it means collecting the data and scientific studies that civilization has produced. Its histories, its architecture matter more to him than the people that live with them.
Yeah, that's his whole thing. Marvel Rivals.
The maker.
China. That's the China game. I talked with President Xi about that game. I said, Xi, we're going to make very sexy skins, and we're going to get half the money from that for America. And he said, no, Donald, they give me too much money for the sexy skins, especially Emma Frost.
Ant is very serious about this.
Truly disturbing figure in comics. Ultimate Reed Richards was never a super stand-up guy, but loss and the weight of his personal failings twisted his mind into this undying, multi-dimensional threat. Something that controls and rewrites reality. He creates multiple universes with the time he has, creating societies that employ eugenics to become perfect. He wants to rewrite reality during Secret Wars, and almost does if not for the efforts of Molecule Man and 616 Reed Richards. But it's what he does to Earth 6160, the new Ultimate Invasion storyline, that I think really separates the Maker from other villains. He travels through time to recreate a reality where superheroes don't exist, and when they do exist, he can control the circumstances entirely. What he does to that universe's Reed Richards is so cruel and so petty that it almost deserves a video just to discuss the sheer cruelty of the Maker's actions there. The Maker is
at
chilling.
this point, why don't you just end the video right here and say that no villain should be president? Because all your examples so far have just been, this would be horrible. It's like,
He just kind of says, like, this person's bad, and then goes into all the bad things they do, and then moves on to the next one.
this is shaping up to be a very nothing video of his.
It's not like he's not going into like how they would run government, what their goals would be, what they would accomplish or anything. Like that would be the more interesting version of this. Instead, he's just like, this guy shouldn't rule because look at all these horrible things he did in the comics. Anyways, next one.
Yeah.
It's just like you're not really getting into the actual scenario at all.
No.
Kind of just a wiki warrior video in disguise. where
Yeah.
He's just like, let's Google all the bad things that this guy did in every multiverse. Okay, good. I can fill some time with that. And I'm just going to recap all of that. All right, good. Now, next one.
Lazy.
And monstrous. He thinks he's creating a perfect society, but he sees all of the subjects of that society as lesser than himself, a true god complex. Even then, he never applies the same cruelty of his standards for society to himself. So oftentimes, his subjects are left turning against him. This is a man who creates worlds that always revolt against him because the worlds he creates are so utterly under his thumb in a way that's cruel, demeaning, and soul-crushing.
Is this your game? Huh?
Oh, I agree. T'Challa would be a horrible ruler. Fuck him.
Oh my god.
He probably creates some sort of weird ethno-state with a bunch of walls around it. Wait a minute.
He has one of the most precious
this might be
metals
controversial.
in the world, and yet won't share.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell, man? Share the wealth, bro.
But yes, I am talking about.
You're probably a billionaire ruler.
Hold on. So we did. Okay, well, hang on, John. Go back 10 seconds. Okay, go play.
It looks like he's jerking off.
Is this your game?
Now, this
Kick him
might
in the
be
nuts.
controversial, but yes, I am talking about the MCU version of
Okay, well,
Killmonger,
now
more than the
hold
comics version.
on. Now, since he just admitted that he's going off of a very specific version, that just brings this whole fucking video into question out. Now you really need to specify which version of which character you're going on, because again, it's like, dude, again, this is the comic book industry. It's like every writer across every medium, not just the comics, but animation, video games, whatever, will have a different spin on a character. They'll tweak different parts of the personality and try to keep the character overall the same, but they will have different shit happen, play out. Now this is really pissing me off. It's like, now you really need to specify which fucking version for everything, because it's like, you can't just say Joker and just speak on him in general. It's like, bitch, which one? Like pre-crisis, post-crisis, Arkham? It's like, which Joker, bitch? Oh
Well, when I googled Joker rules the world, only one thing came up, so I didn't really have to do that.
Oh my god, this fucking this guy fucking lazy. He made a 40-minute video and he couldn't bother to fucking make specific ass research. And yes, I know that like him doing this specific research would take a lot of fucking time. I understand that, but if he's going to make this video, then damn it, he has to put in the work. This is lazy. Oh,
or
shit.
just have a consistent rule. Be like, you know, okay, well, what happened?
I knocked over my fucking Minute Maid can. Now there's fucking lemonade all over the damn
Oh
carpet.
shit.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
Fuck it, I'll clean it up later.
I will make this point.
It's right there. Oh, thank God, there is no spill. I was worried I made a spill, but I didn't.
Backseater didn't piss himself like he thought he did. All right.
No. Anyway.
It was me, Backseater.
Reverse Flash is in the doorway like, "Wah."
No, Barry, it's a Reverse Flash version of Ant.
Yeah.
He would actually be cool then if he was reverse Ant.
Anyway.
Because I think
Ant really wanted to be very.
Hold on, what did you
He
go back? Hang on, Evan, finish what you're saying. What?
You should at least go through every version of the villain, try to find a take on them that could fit into the mold of, oh, if they were a ruler or, you know, running for power, what could they do? They point to.
Or at the very least, he should look at all the different versions, take all the commonalities from them, and then sort of distill that into a quote-unquote pure version of that character. Because John, this is what John kind of got into in his reaction to Ant's Magneto video, where it's like just because like different writers have different takes on the character doesn't mean they're like different characters or whatever the hell. It's like, again, dude, like every writer's gonna write the characters differently, so.
Yeah, because one guy goes into it thinking he interpreted the character in the past a different way, where you like, oh, I think of Magneto as a villain, or he needs to be a villain for my story. And Ant takes that as, oh, it's very confused. They all write him completely different ways. It's like, well, in this story, he's a villain. In this story, he's an anti-hero because there's an eviler villain or something.
Yeah.
Shit changes with circumstance. Like,
yeah.
And what he should have done for this video is laid out very clear rules at the start. Be like, either say, now, because there's so many versions, I'm going to pick the best possible ruler version or the worst possible ruler version, or just the most relevant one for each character. Or yeah, like Backseater said, you could make like sort of a distillation, but you establish that at the start and then you just stay consistent with it throughout, instead of this random jumping around of like, well, I'm going to talk about 10 different versions of this character, but then I'll just talk about the MCU version of this one.
I could easily, like for fucking, like if he ever gets to like Magneto and say, oh, Magneto, like he he really like I don't know what he's gonna say about Magneto. I haven't seen this video, but when he gets Magneto, says Magneto really cares about like mutant rights. He really cares about all mutants. And I could even say like, okay, well, there's this one story where he really doesn't, and he just wants to rule over all the mutants and have all the mutants rule over the humans. Like I could easily say that bullshit. I could easily.
Magneto is a grifter. He just pretends to care so that he can get power.
Yeah, anyway, I digress. Let's keep going.
Now, this might be controversial, but yes, I am talking about the MCU version of Killmonger more than the comics version because I think, A, more people are more familiar with the MCU version, and B, there's a discussion to be had online if Killmonger is the villain.
Okay, hang on.
No,
One, I don't care if the MCU version is more popular than the comic version. Popularity is irrelevant in this. Two, it's like the people who think the people wondering if he's really a villain or not are fucking retarded, alright?
He's like, I'm gonna kill all the white people. They're like, yeah, kill the colonizers. All the white people are clapping in the theater, like, yeah, fuck those colonizers, kill them all. Oh, wait a minute.
Hey, wait a minute, yeah.
But not me. I'm an ally. Surely Killmonger would let me live. He's not just judging people by the color of their skin or anything.
Yeah.
Fucking retard.
Like the whole Clarissa Palestine thing. They cheer for the cause. I'm completely unaware that they're going to be targeted next.
Yeah.
Oh, Black Panther exposed so many wackos because that was what, like 2018. So yeah, it was right in the middle of the last Evil Orange Man arc, and people were just they come out. The fucking discussion online was so insane. He's like, I'm gonna kill all the women and children and everybody who doesn't look like us, basically, and they're like, you know, he's pretty sympathetic. He has a pretty good point. It's like, what are you talking about?
Jacob, we're talking about Killmonger, so yeah.
He is the villain. He is a villain. Like, this isn't a Magneto situation where, oh, he's kind of justified what he's doing. No, Killmonger is the bad guy of the movie. I'm going to explain what people don't understand about Killmonger. Killmonger is tragic. His story is heartbreaking. He was abandoned by Wakanda. He was used by the U.S. military as a weapon. His life was shaped by...
That part was more his choice. He chose to become like a mercenary or whatever. The part about Wakanda killing his dad, that was not his choice, obviously, but he was pretty proud of all of his kills. He got all the tattoos and shit.
Oh, his records really say he had the highest kill count during the, the Afghan War or whichever war he was involved in.
Could have been a conscientious objector or something if he really wanted to. Be a medic or some shit. He didn't have to fucking excel at killing.
Yes, Jacob, Killmonger is a terrorist. Jacob also says women might vote for him being of his dongmonger. I don't know what that
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Oh.
He's talking about people like Roxy Stryer who will look past all morals and go,
How about that?
Yeah.
I want that bumpy.
And he was wronged by T'Chaka, the previous Black Panther. He is a victim of racial prejudice, and thus his actions to...
He's also a victim of a very bad haircut.
Was he really a victim of racial prejudice? Because it was another black guy that killed his dad. And in the U.S., they obviously kept him gainfully employed.
I don't fucking know, bro. Again, it's Ant. Don't believe... Like, just doubt every word he says automatically.
Well, he recapped a bunch of shit that had nothing to do with race, and then he's like, he was a victim of racial prejudice. It's like, can you give an example, perhaps?
Did Paul say something very sus to him?
The problem is he has no plan after that. Killmonger was trained to destroy systems of power. He was not
pretty
trained
awful.
to build them back up. He doesn't care about that. When he takes over Wakanda, he destroys the purple flower that gives the Black Panther their power because he doesn't really want there to be a future for Wakanda. He doesn't want there to be a future for anything. He wants short-term...
No, he destroys the purple flower because he doesn't want anybody else getting the Black Panther powers. So he can maintain his rule and he won't have any challengers. This is like the whole second part of the movie is they have to like smuggle one out and take it to the mountains and give it to the half-dead T'Challa and all that, who gets fished out of a river ex machina by the crazy white gorilla tribe people.
Jacob.
Did you pay attention to the movie?
No, he didn't. Jacob, because women would have Killmonger BBC, and the Briscoe says everything is racial prejudice.
I had the Big Bacon Classic today at Wendy's. It was very good. I don't know what it has to do with Killmonger, though.
Yeah.
I usually just go up to the counter and say, I want that BBC in my mouth. Give it to me. And for some reason, the lady always looks at me weird. I don't know why.
Control so he can destroy and deconstruct systems, because that is what he was built into by the US military. He is ultimately not there to rule. He is there to destroy and leave nothing in its wake. He is there to melt the planet and leave a salted, dead Earth behind. That is not someone who should rule anything. And he is a worst case scenario, because after he drags your entire country into a never-ending war, he will just as quickly abandon you and salt the earth upon which you breathe.
Literally none of that had anything to do with the movie. I would just like to point out that nothing he just said was accurate. Killmonger's plan in the movie was to kill all the white people. That was like very explicitly stated. He's like, there's 2 billion people that look like us or whatever, and we've been wronged, and I'm going to use all of Wakanda's technology to fucking destroy all the other people and take over the world, basically.
Well, according to Jacob, Killmonger would get the white women's support. And the Briscoe says, Bacon is racist, John! Yeah, John, didn't you know that bacon is racist? What the hell, John?
Well, I actually have a stat with bacon that may or may not be racial. Did you know it reduces your chance of being a terrorist just by eating 2 strips of bacon in the morning?
Whoa, really? Damn!
It's a scientific fact.
Killmonger should have had more bacon in his diet, yeah.
So he does 2 things there. He takes completely out the racial component that's very clearly in Killmonger's plan. I don't know if it's just like because he doesn't want people to remember that or something, or like think he's such a great guy. Also, the destruction part is not like the aftermath is not the problem. The initial plan is pretty horrific. He plans to kill like whatever 8 billion people, so that's pretty bad. So it's not just the aftermath. He doesn't have a plan afterwards. It's like, no, the initial thing to get there is awful. Come on. And then he just like shuffles all the responsibility because he's like, oh, the US government, they forced him to do everything. It's like, no, okay, his dad got killed by T'Chaka, and then somehow it was just inevitable. He was just forced into taking the exact path that he took. Pretty sure the US government doesn't just go to every kid with a dead dad and go, well, kid, we're gonna force you into being a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fatherless well, I'll just say there's a lot of fatherless kids, otherwise I would say something that might sound racial, but and I'm pretty sure all of them don't grow up to be Killmonger. So a fucking idiot was wrong on 3 different ways with that explanation.
Jacob,
I don't know. But there is one particular example I could say, but it's outside of Marvel, so I mean I could save it.
No, go ahead, Evan. What is it?
I mean, you mentioned about a black character who lost a parent, a black parent, and then grew up to become a killer. There's this little thing, you might have heard it called the Acolyte.
Oh, no!
Oh, that's right. OSHA's supposed to be all... Wait, May was the evil one?
May.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're both evil. One's evil at the start, one's evil at the end, so yeah.
The only reason that I remembered which was because of OSHA. I feel a connection to you. It's because of more racism on my end.
You know, I was thinking about remaking my first ever video, but maybe some other day. Anyway, Jacob, Killmonger would run as a Democrat then, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He'd be like, I'm going to kill all the white people. And then a bunch of idiot white liberals would vote for him.
Yeah.
That's racist.
I am being racist against idiotic white people, yes.
Yeah.
As president, I promise to abolish white supremacy, and all white people get sent to Greenland.
Yes, King, we deserve it. Oh my god.
Anyway, moving on. Injustice Superman, here we go.
Yeah.
Worldwide ceasefire.
Terrible
All
movie.
hostilities will stop, or I will stop them. It's over.
The Justice League.
It's Jover. You're all done.
Yeah. Osha, my Asian penis via connection to your they-them teats.
I know you were staring at Manny Jacinto's whenever he came out of the water, but I promise I have much to offer.
I am a Goa, it's a Goa, not a Shoah. Anyway.
And Injustice Superman are basically dark visions of the future. What if the heroes who protect us turn against us? Well, for one, we'd probably all be dragged into a fascist future where the heroes
Why do you
become
think
overlords
everything
that
is
dominate.
fascist? Why do you think every evil government that leaves the people alive is fascist? What the hell, bruh?
Because it gets the clicks whenever I say fascist a lot, because people will accidentally click on this thinking it's a political video about Donald Trump or something.
Oy.
And then, yeah, he could have given a lot more examples of evil Superman. He could have been like, Injustice Superman, or Omni-Man, or Homelander, or, because the fucking story's been done 5 million times by now.
Or Iron Legacy, yeah. Anyway.
With a iron fist. You can't commit crime, but it's because you have no freedom left. The Justice Lords form after President Lex Luthor, we'll get to Lex Luthor later, executes the Flash, resulting in a fascist overthrow of the government.
Stop saying fascist with everything.
Lex Luthor. And
Take a shot every time Ant says fascist.
Yeah, there we go.
Justice League Wonder Woman. I'm going to stay paused on this for a few minutes.
Alright, so he mentioned it twice. Everyone who wants to play a drinking game, take 2 sips right now.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Luckily, I have my Yingling.
Yeah.
This is a great episode, by the way.
Yeah.
It's actually handled with a lot more subtlety, like the way that the evil Superman has to handle Doomsday, basically as soon as he comes into our world and everything. Like, way more nuanced than anything that will be written today.
Yeah.
I will say a recent favorite story of mine that is kind of evil Superman related comes from the Dark Universe, and it's about how Lois Lane becomes the Eradicator. Basically what happens is that Superman fights Doomsday, he dies, the Justice League comes very late in the game, so Superman and Doomsday, they're both, are dead. And the next day, which was supposed to be the day of the wedding between Superman and Lois Lane, is actually Superman's funeral. And Lois Lane is stuck in the very, very, very back of the congregation.
I would create who would win in the fight, Doomslayer or Doomsday?
Doomslayer, let him finish.
Yeah, I'll take him out. Not with my Crucible. I'll take out Doomsday out with my Crucible.
Can I finish, please?
Okay.
So Lois Lane, she is very angry at the fact that the Justice League are speaking on behalf of Superman, where she kind of blames them for coming in late, and if they hadn't come late, she believes that Superman would still be alive. And I can't remember the middle part of the story, but I know at one point she goes to the Fortress of Solitude to kind of like say her final goodbyes to Kal-El, but she recovers the Eradicator, and she merges with the Eradicator to gain all the Kryptonian DNA, and eventually becomes an evil Superwoman, where she like takes out crime, all that. She kills Lex Luthor in a very brutal way. She pretty much flies him around the sun, which disintegrates him. It's pretty heavy metal.
It's kind of a reverse Injustice then, where Lois dies and it makes Superman evil, and then in that one it sounds like Superman dies. And I know it was more complicated because obviously she doesn't have superpowers to start with. But
I suggest you guys read the story yourself if you get your hands on it. It's pretty hardcore.
Lois actually was mistaken though. She had lost her boyfriend and thought that they were saying the Eradicator. She was like, oh, this will be fun. And then all of a sudden she had superpowers. She was like, oh, wow, I guess I'm going a different way today.
Yeah. Jacob says Sentry. Jacob says evil Superman would also think the government is useless because he would blame them for Lois's death. He would just go to the Senate and kill them all with his heat vision. I don't think he'd go that far, but he'd certainly get rid of them or something. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he would know they're all worms.
Yeah,
he would just go there and intimidate them.
I'm resistant to heat vision.
All right, Cody.
And over the world with the rest of the Justice League. In Justice, Superman seizes power after Metropolis and Lois Lane are destroyed by the Joker. The idea that the out-of-control criminal element has skyrocketed and become
that Joker design is pretty bad.
To cities and nations. Society at first is power because, well, these are...
What's that?
He looks like a cheap ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah.
He kind of did look like a dummy.
Trusted figures, they're beloved, and they have immense power. But soon, crime becomes punished by any means necessary.
Also, can you go back?
Crimes can result in life imprisonment.
What was it? Go back a little?
Yeah, that's good. I just want to say, as much as I do like the Injustice story, I do think a good portion of Superman's regime design is pretty cool. What the fuck are those underpants?
I don't know, man.
I was just gonna say we paused running his super bulge here. Jesus.
I know,
I hate
pretty
Catwoman.
suspect.
I hate
I just
Catwoman's
had to
design.
point that out. That his super trousers look pretty suspect.
Yeah, it's like a weird V. It looks like the Spider-Man symbol, but on Superman's crotch instead of Spider-Man's chest.
Yeah.
We
got
so weird.
We got Solar. Damn it! When you mention Jacob, the first thing that comes to mind is Jacob. Jacob says he may spare AOC because she will remind him of Lois until she starts talking. Then she's done.
Well, I'm glad I killed the Joker.
All right, Cody.
I hate the Catwoman design here too. She looks like a man, and then she's all covered up with like 6 different straps across her body.
Yeah.
Immense power, but soon crime becomes punished by any means necessary. Small crimes can result in life imprisonment or even public execution. And those in power have no power in the face of gods among men. It's a future so disturbing that other dark Elseworld stories like Superman Red Sun tease this kind of future as a nightmare scenario. Red Sun ends with Superman being told, why don't you just put the whole world in a bottle? And that scares him, that shakes him. So Injustice Superman is what happens if Superman does put the whole world in a bottle, does take command over every facet.
Yes, we know the plot of the story. Can you get into how... Never mind. He's always just summarizing stories where they already did what he's talking about.
Yeah.
This is all just fucking... I'm going to Google this. I'm going to read off of the page.
It's padding.
Yeah.
Padding,
It's like he doesn't have
padding,
original
padding.
thoughts. Like, put some original thought in. You can recap this very quickly and then go, and here's how I think our regular Superman would run the government. Here's like what, and is this always the US government? I don't know, but anyways.
This is exactly, this sounds a whole lot like Ant got his script from ChatGPT. I'm saying it right now.
He has Star Wars theory for some ideas on how to make a cheap video, and he's like, "Oh, bro, just wiki everything and read off the page."
Yeah.
This is like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's a really good idea. I didn't know you could just do that."
Oh my god, yeah.
Pain do lead to this circumstance. It doesn't change the fact these are worst case scenarios. Even among dark futures, Injustice and the Injustice Lords, all that, it's a bad case for them.
He just says this for everyone. He's always like, "This one is really bad, by the way." We know. You're saying that for everyone. Can you ever say, like, this isn't as bad? Has he said that once?
They rule all, but a disruption in the space-time continuum destroyed my reality.
Kang the Conqueror is a conqueror.
Please don't show Jonathan Majors.
He has several
Oh, what were you just gonna say, Backseat?
I said, oh boy, let's see how Ant can say that this is bad. Hang on, the Briscoe. Why does this guy look like that screaming anti-Trump protester? He just does.
She got a gender change. became a YouTuber.
It's Luke Skywalker all grown up.
That actually lines up because that was like 2017 whenever he was getting inaugurated, and then Ant was like after she was done screaming, she emerged as Ant.
Kang would also think the government is useless. Yes, Jacob, he would. Here we got Wallen. Hey Wallen, what's going on? Remember to press the like button, guys, so more people can come clown on Ant. Yes, indeed, Wallen. Anyway.
Hey, I don't need you guys to all dogpile on me. I only have like a gazillion subscribers.
Yeah.
Remains. As Rama-Tut, he ruled over Egypt as a pharaoh, only for Apocalypse to undermine him. He reigned over a future with a vast arsenal of weaponry. He and his council of Kangs reigned
he
over
showed
lesser
it.
versions of himself.
We was Kangs, yeah.
Yeah, brother.
That was an after credits scene, right?
No,
The
this
stadium of-
I'm pretty sure this was in the movie.
Oh my gosh. I was gonna say if it was, that would be the worst one. Oh, what? It was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fucking
Yeah.
Yeah, like I tried to avoid thinking about Quantumania.
We all do.
That's easily the worst post-credit scene. Then, like, it was so fucking bad. Like, even before Jonathan Majors got booted and everything, because it was just like random skins, and they all just act goofy. And then in the fucking stands, they're acting like cheering.
There was a plan. The idea behind that scene is that it was a plan for a future Fortnite skin pack, and they eventually Kang the Conqueror.
And it's like, what's supposed to be the big? Remember whenever Thanos? It was like he's like, they're like, oh, to challenge them is to court death, and he does a smile at the end of the first Avengers. Like that was intimidating, and it's one guy like ominously being teased. This is like, look at this goofball villain. There's 500 versions of him for Ant-Man to slaughter in a fist fight. Whoa.
I remember when that Avengers post-credit scene came out. I was watching it with a friend on Netflix. Like, I specifically fast-forwarded to the credits towards the end because I saw that scene over and over again, and I thought it was so cool. But my buddy leaned towards me and says, "Is that Hellboy?"
He does have the chin.
Let's see here. Hang on. Let me see. Let me catch up on the chat here. All right, Wone, I swear, Anthony's YouTube is a psyop. Really? I think so?
Mm-hmm.
Solar says, we was Kangs and shit, man. Jacob says, yup, this was a mid-credits scene, Amateur. Okay, mid-credits. I was kind of close. Wone, the most cringe after-credits scene to date. Yeah, Wone, Doctor Strange 2 almost gives it a run for its money, though. Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's the random-ass eyeball, and then he runs off with Charlize Theron.
Jacob, that post-credit scene was before Josh Brolin was cast. Indeed it was. Anyway, moving on.
And on the topic of Kang, I want to bring up one last thing. Out of all the version of Kang that we have seen, it is not as crazy as the Kamala Kang iteration
Kamala
of Kang.
Kang? What?
There is a version
of racism
Kamala
accusations
Khan where she becomes Kang the Conqueror.
That's it. I'm out.
Well, luckily DEI died before they could get to that version. That would have been the final villain in like Avengers Kang Dynasty or whatever it was going to be.
He even dominates the quantum.
It may have been but that would have actually been funny.
Hang on, the Briscoe. Psyop, more like shit-op. Yep. Anyway, moving on.
Locked there. He turns his prison into his own empire. But I think where we really see the worst case scenario for Kang is actually in the MCU's Loki series. He who remains has
this is such a terrible version.
He is
They filled up the whole final episode with him babbling and acting like a fucking clown. And, I could see everything except now. Oh no, what choice are you gonna make? Oh jeez, if you kill me, we'll end up right back here anyway, so none of it matters. And also, I've controlled every event up to now. Ha ha ha. It's just like, oh my god.
I'm Jonathan Majors. I was in a couple of hit indie movies. I was in A24.
It's like such a stupid strategy of just, hey guys, more acting equals better acting. If I just go more over the top, people will say that it's eccentric and that I didn't see the depth and nuance of it.
Jacob, did any other MCU project besides Thunderbolts is a setup for Avengers Doomsday? I don't know. I don't know that. I'm sorry, Jacob. Jacob, I can't answer that question. I'm sorry, Jacob. Evan, what's going on with you, bro?
I'm not having a shot next week.
My neighbor just shot a couple of fireworks and my dog's going nuts.
Oh, Jacob, you need to get better grammar. I'm sorry, bro. I had a hard time reading that. Anyway.
Jacob's trying.
Decided to dominate over time, creating systems of control to ensure that only one timeline exists. In effect, he annihilates a multiverse in order to control
That's
and
the gambit.
simplify reality.
Hence, agents of cosmic.
Why is he struggling to get up on a desk? He's supposed to be the main villain.
I thought John was supposed to be
from the
Is he jacked as hell? Like, why is he struggling to walk?
I don't know,
He's
man.
got bad knees, all them power lifts, bro.
Yeah.
My ACL's got torn.
Path he sets is destroyed, eradicated. The one above all is responsible for the passings of untold trillions, if not quintillions, of individuals. Yet, he sees himself as benevolent because he's taking care of the variants of himself that could cause more destruction, but in turn is creating more destruction than humanly believed possible. It's ultimately these systems of control that he establishes that makes him such a tyrannical nightmare of a character. He rules in a way that's truly, truly restrictive.
Look, it's not really killing people unless you consider like birth control killing people. He's nipping these timelines at the start. So all this shit about like, oh, you just killed trillions of people. It's like, well, if somebody decides to, you know, do it in a way where they won't make a kid back in the year 0, has that killed all the people that could have possibly been born off of that other person? Is that what we consider killing? Like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing to say. He's killed trillions by not allowing more things to exist. I don't know.
Jacob, I'm not trying to mock you for your disability. I'm just saying it's like you need to like spell check, grammar check your comments before you send them. All right, I don't want to be tripping over what you're trying to ask because you have poor grammar. I'm sorry, I just don't want to. Anyway.
In a way that you don't know, he is not a figure you can fight because he is so far behind multiple facades. There's something very disturbing about he who remains that I think a lot of fans don't touch upon enough.
There's nothing disturbing. It was all just a big tease, and it ended up ruining the entire franchise because it basically said that everything was just his doing. No, there's nothing really intimidating about that.
A new command is at hand. A new authority.
Sinestro.
How dare you? It's an affront to him!
Shut your mouth, you stupid little troll!
Sinestro is an alien who rules through fear. His home,
Classic
Korrigar,
Sinestro.
is ruled by him with complete totalitarian domination. Oh, and by the way, that's before.
Why didn't you say
he creates the
fascism?
Lantern Ring. He already is a fascist with the
Oh,
Green
he
Lantern
just
Ring
did!
before becoming a.
Oh my god, I
From
triggered
there,
it.
He basically becomes a monster, destroying star systems
Take a shot.
in order to establish order.
In a galaxy screaming for order, you have cast a deaf ear. But all that ends now.
He destroys
Literally the police. What more do you want?
chaotic to instill an idea of complete control.
All right,
He rules
see you
with
guys.
fear. Modern
Bye,
readers
Cody.
probably most
Bye-bye.
Slayer leaves.
familiar with Sinestro thanks to the Sinestro Corps War, a massive storyline from the mid-2000s that featured Sinestro taking command of his own personal army, using cosmic entities such as the
Cyborg Superman.
or famous supervillains like Superboy Prime with
What's
Cyborg
your favorite
Superman or the
Superman
Manhunters
character?
in order to
What was that?
One of my favorite Superman villains or variants, Cyborg Superman.
Yeah, he's
Oh, yeah.
pretty good.
Whenever he
Always-
died, there was Superboy. There was like Superboy, Steel, Cyborg Superman, and was there another one?
Eradicator.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Wow, this is he's not very creative with his kills, I have to say. For someone who can construct a bunch of things with his ring. He's just like stab him in the heart, stab him in the heart, stab him in the heart.
Let's see, we got Jacob. Sinestro would remind Republicans of Richard Nixon. All right.
What?
I would say.
He'd be like, I'm going to make the intergalactic EPA. Ooh.
establish a
I am not a
hierarchy
yellow
of new
lantern.
power, overthrowing the Guardians and establishing a new empire of terror. And much like
He gets
the
caught
Civil
like
War example,
Watergate scandal, and he's like, I resign myself as head of the Special Court.
I will resign my ring to Hal Jordan later
Yeah.
today.
in the Injustice Superman, it works. He creates systems where everyone bends to his will and is too afraid to step forward because he's just that much in control. Yeah, there's no crime because everyone's terrified for their lives.
Yeah.
It's truly
This is
a
like
nightmare
what the.
scenario.
This is like what the.
This is not someone.
It's bad.
It's all been a nightmare scenario, hasn't it? For fuck's sake, stop repeating yourself.
Look, Ant, there's only so many ways that total evil villain control can go. Either they control everyone to where they live in fear. That's probably the best case. but they can still live their lives, you know, somewhat. They can't commit crime because they live in fear. They're all eradicated. Like, that's the other scenario. Or, like, maybe they're all mind controlled or something like the Infinite Tsukiyomi from Naruto. Like, those are pretty much kind of the three options. I don't think they ever just, like, leave anything go. I guess there was, like, Apocalypse who organized it. I think he was the one that organized it a little bit by strength of nations and stuff, but even that's pretty controlled. Like, yes, they want to control everything at minimum, if not kill everything. Like,
Jacob,
you don't have to make a point.
Jacob, Hassan would also be a fan of Sinestro because you probably hate Jews. Okay, Jacob, Jacob, I'm sorry, that one doesn't even make sense. Sinestro doesn't give a fuck about Jews.
Sinestro would hate a certain species, if anything. Like, what's the one lantern? Kilowog or whatever, the big guy.
Yeah, Kilowog. Yeah.
He'd be like, I hate Kilowogs. I'm going to put all the Kilowogs in camp.
Hang on. What's Kilowog's species again?
I don't know. That's why I just said
I know. That's why I'm googling it. I'm googling it. He's a bull of Axion. That's what he is.
A bowl of what?
Sinestro also hate the species of Atrocitus.
Yeah, now I gotta Google what his species is here. Atrocitus. I know his planet. I know that. I don't know what species it is. He's a Ryutian. There it is.
Oh,
anyway.
So wait, did you say Sinestro is from Atrocitus?
No. I said Atrocitus is from. I don't know what the hell I said. I don't really care anymore.
I said Sinestro would hate the species of Atrocitus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not to mention, there are some iterations of Atrocitus' origin that his planet was largely wiped out by the Sinestro Corps, but his actual origins says the Manhunters. Like, it's either or, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, you know, whenever you're from the planet Atrocitus, I feel like you're sort of destined to be somewhat villainous too.
Atrocitus is a guy, John.
Okay, so if Sinestro, because I'm thinking of all the evil villain words, like he's obviously sinister, and then there's atrocities, and then I'm thinking of a Dr. Nefarious from Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
One who you should let in charge. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's peace, but only peace for who?
The next stage of my plan.
Hey, wait. Whoever's got the dog, maybe just mute until you're talking.
Don't worry, I got this. I'll handle this.
Plans might be considered genocidal.
Vandal Savage is an immortal who, over the millennia, has donned many identities. He claims to have ruled over Sumer, been Julius Caesar and Genghis Khan, among others. He advised Napoleon, and he also advised Hitler. So, I mean, he's a man who's built empires, oftentimes crafted out of terror.
He just said Hitler like he was worse than all the other guys he was naming. I need to remind you that Genghis Khan killed a shit ton of people.
Yeah, more
like,
than Hitler, yeah.
Fashionable evil. He's never gonna be like, oh, Stalin was so evil, even though Stalin fucking killed a shit ton of people, like more than Hitler, I'm pretty sure too.
I'm pretty sure he did, yeah.
He'd never be like, oh, by the way, Vandal Savage advised Mao of all people. Like, he emphasized Hitler after naming all these people that were just as bad, if not worse.
And destruction. He is a conqueror, much like Kang.
I've lived thousands of lives. I've been a laborer, a scientist, a priest, an artist, a healer, a thief.
But most often, a conqueror.
The only thing that maybe pushes Vandal Savage a little bit above Kang and a little bit above the others is that he often builds something in his wake. He sees the construction of the long form of history as a positive, that he's bringing some good. Yes, he's in charge, yes, he rules, but he sees himself more as a crafter of society.
To you, my warlords, I offer dominion over as much of what remains of the planet as each of you can hold, second only to me.
Doesn't change the fact he's created some of the worst fascist regimes and monstrous dictatorships in history, but hey, I mean, even if you're this high up, you still should be as far away from leadership as humanly possible. This is not a Vandal Savage being this high is not a props to Vandal.
They're all villains. This is the whole premise of the video. You don't like. Does he think that people are gonna think he's endorsing these people for president or something if he doesn't constantly say how evil they are? Like,
probably.
so redundant at this point.
And let's just cut the bullshit and let's just narrow it down to villains who aren't fascist. How about that? Let's just narrow it down to villains who aren't fascist, aren't omnicidal maniacs who want to see shit die, aren't conquerors, and that's it. Let's just narrow it down to all of those. That'll make our lives a lot easier.
But Backseat, then I'd have to actually think about things. I just like to say that this super evil guy would do super evil things.
Jacob says Vandal Savage would just run his own country. Maybe he would, yeah. Briscoe says, oh, of course he had to get Hitler in there. Yeah.
Hitler is worse than all the other ones combined.
Yeah.
Savage, it's so much worse.
Grodd will complete his mission.
Alright, here's Grodd.
Time to make
See if he's gonna be racist.
Grodd again.
Oh my, that was a real line in the CW show. They're gonna make America Grodd again. Holy shit. I did not watch the Flash. I'm guessing that was from that far.
That was Flash, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Who rules over Gorilla City. He can mind control people. And he is a monster. He exploited the arrival of humanity into the Gorilla City as a means to seize power, and constantly tries to seize power. As seen in the recent DC animated series Creature Commandos, Gorilla Grodd is not above collaborating with other conquerors, lending his forces and might to another's cause. He's not a well-intentioned extremist, he doesn't have some grudge against humanity, he just wants to rule, and he'll throw his own gorillas out with the waste if it means having an ounce of more power. He is another monster, he's a conqueror, but he's also no more different than so many warlords who existed throughout history, with one key exception.
Barack Obama, it will almost be an honor to kill you.
What the fuck is this show? They really... I can't believe this is an actual episode of the fucking Flash.
Believe it.
He did try to attack Barack Obama.
Mr. Osborn, didn't expect to see you back tonight. And through the front door, no.
Here's my choice.
You want to rule the world? You don't punch time clocks.
Forget Green Goblin, forget all of that. As a human being, Norman Osborn is a complete and utter monster. Norman Osborn exploited the Secret Invasion event to take over S.H.I.E.L.D. He turned Tony Stark into a patsy for the invasion and elevated himself to control one of the most powerful military branches in the country. He recreated the Avengers and Thunderbolts to be his personal army. And when he had all this power, he used it to launch a siege on Asgard itself. He is, ultimately speaking, a power-hungry capitalist monster. And he proved very unstable as the story goes.
That was the worst thing that he did, was attack Asgard?
I mean, a shit ton of villains have done that.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he invaded another nation, like, essentially, once he had on a scale of, like, superheroes, you know? That's not really, like, he's not doing, like, a genocide or anything. I don't know.
Yeah,
No.
Alright, hang on. Jacob says, Grodd would just think humans should be exterminated. Alright. Anyway.
Goes on. He assembles what he calls the
So what I miss?
A society of supervillains.
Don't ask. Just keep watching.
A lot of boobs. I like this comic. Anyways.
I think that's a Lady Loki.
It's a Lady Loki, and there's Emma Frost there, it looks like.
Yeah.
And I have to say, Nightcrawler's looking... I think that's Nightcrawler in the middle. He's looking pretty fashionable there.
I think that's the purple man. I don't know.
Ah, okay. That would explain the suit more. I was going to say, Nightcrawler usually isn't a suit guy.
Yeah.
Only thanks to his own arrogance and a mental instability that he has overthrown it all, overreaching just enough to leave himself vulnerable to both the public's criticism and the heroes of the Marvel Universe's counterattack.
Even this wasn't enough for you, was it?
Here's
Can I
Lex.
just say Norman Osborn did not sound nearly as bad based on what he presented. He was basically like, he took control of a bunch of stuff, and then he invaded this one other place.
Yeah.
And then he was overthrown immediately. It's
maybe we're finally getting to the ones who aren't like genocidal fascists, maybe.
And a lot of this is just a product of power. Like, Vandal Savage is immortal, but he can't control everything. So obviously he doesn't have the option to do like what an Ultron does, where he eradicates the whole universe. Like, once he gets control, he has to delineate a little bit, and he has to like just rule. He can't like control everybody's thoughts and shit. Like, I don't care how long you live, you don't suddenly gain powers. And then like same thing with Norman Osborn. He's like a normal dude, so he just has to take control politically, basically. So yeah, of course he's easier to overthrow.
We got Jacob saying, Jacob, the bigger question would be, would he run as a Republican or Democrat? Good question.
Norman Osborn, he's rich.
Jacob also says, John gets gooning. Anyway, moving on.
I think, if I remember correctly, Luthor actually formed his own political party. He formed the Tomorrow Party. I don't quite remember what side of the political spectrum it fell on.
Yeah.
I didn't get into many specific issues. There aren't like, what do you think about abortion, Lex Luthor?
Jacob, Ants thinks Norman would run as a Democrat. I don't know, man. I don't know Ant anymore. Anyway, next.
At all. Now we're on the brink of a war that could destroy the whole planet.
Could have been so perfect.
Lex Luthor, in a lot of ways, is kind of similar to presidents that we've had in history.
Really?
He is ultimately a self-serving billionaire who uses the presidency to solidify his own power. The difference is
FDR.
Lex Luthor does do a few things that does improve society somewhat. You're probably wondering how Lex Luthor even became president. Well, he started becoming more of a philanthropist, helping with Gotham City's rebuilding following the earthquake of Mercy's land. Of course, Lex was undercutting all attempts to rebuild Gotham in order to make sure he got the right to rebuild it and take all the credit for fixing Gotham. But still, he did ultimately help save Gotham by undermining everyone else's attempts to save Gotham.
You could say he built back Gotham better.
Hey!
He became the president of the United States under an idea that he would share immense technology with the common person. He was going to put a flying car in every garage. While he did undercut all attempts to undermine his public image by murder and launching rockets into people's faces, he did ultimately do a few good things, but the big thing was the Imperiex War. He helped stop Imperiex during the Imperiex War. His actions to use the Suicide Squad in certain ways and collaborating with Amanda Waller does create a government-ordained peace force of heroes who do believe they're doing the right thing. That being said, of course, he's still Lex Luthor. He still sees himself as a man trying to become a god and trying to overcome who he sees as a godlike obstacle to do so. It's ultimately his pursuit for Superman that undermines his entire success as president. But he is ultimately stopped eventually. In a moment that I suspect partially is inspired by George W. Bush's real pursuit of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, Lex Luthor tries to blame Superman for a kryptonite meteorite that comes to Earth. And
those two situations sound nothing alike. What the fuck are you talking about? That's like a rock.
I don't know.
I don't even like George Bush, and I do not see the connection.
Well, hey, no, John, don't you see it? A meteor is a giant rock, and George W. Bush had a problem with Iraq. Iraq, a rock, it's exactly the same.
Right.
Fucking dumbass. Anyway.
Also tries to pin a certain murder of Vesper Fairchild on Batman. Neither of these go well. The public doesn't buy it. Oh, and then turns out that
just
Lex
like January 6th
sells all of its assets to the Wayne Foundation while he was divested from LexCorp's processes. You know, so basically he gets completely demolished on the political and financial/economic level.
The city crumbles.
Here's Kingpin.
Fades. Needs to die before it can be reborn.
Of all the billionaire industrialists who become leaders, Wilson Fisk as the mayor of New York might be the least horrible because it's contained to New York.
Let me guess,
In
he's
the storyline Devil's Reign, Kingpin becomes mayor of New York and immediately outlaws vigilantism. He employs the Thunderbolts, much like how Norman Osborn did previously in the Dark Reign storyline, in order to control the New York City landscape to...
Hang on, Jacob. That sounds lame and gay. Well, welcome to 2021 comics, Jacob. Anyway.
apprehend now illegal vigilantes. And mind you, this includes everyone from Daredevil and Spider-Man to Tony Stark. Now, again, in the Marvel Universe, some authoritative bodies have just tried to outlaw superheroes. A great example of this is the Superhero Registration Act following the New Warriors, causing a bit of a mass disaster. So it isn't that out of the ordinary for an authority to outlaw heroes. Further, using Doc Ock's technology, Kingpin does manage to suppress crime throughout the city. So again, he does create peace and doesn't seem to infringe too much on civil liberties in the process. If you ignore the fact that he takes the Purple Man's powers and mind controls people into obedience, but aside from that, it's totally fine. He mainly uses the office to attack the vigilantes who undermine him. But he also is still a mayor of New York, and because of his vast resources in the criminal underworld, he creates the facade of peace by controlling his enterprises. Granted, he uses the office to further enrich himself, yes, but the Kingpin does use this vast enterprise to some benefit, to become a leader with good publicity in many ways. He's a lot like Lex Luthor, except because he's on a smaller scale, he doesn't expose himself to the same countrywide problems that Lex does as president. The other benefit is, of course, that when Wilson
what
Fisk...
if he were to do that? Because this whole fucking video is ask who would be best president. So you're gonna have to consider that, dumbass. Jacob, Kingpin should run against Zoran Mamdani. Yes, he should.
I'd vote for Kingpin.
Yeah. Next.
Is dethroned, Luke Cage becomes mayor instead and brings about actual reform to the
I didn't know that.
On a systemic level, does improve.
Oh, look, they're making little heart symbols with their hands, guys. It's so
trendy and sweet.
Wonderful.
Ah, yes.
If Marvel really wanted to be brave, they'd have Luke Cage get in there and he dismantles all the authoritarian shit, but then they like go into financial crisis and stuff because he's like, wait, fuck, I have no idea how to run a city.
Yeah.
Instead, of course, he's the most perfect person ever for the job.
Does improve things. For some reason, in order to make something better,
needs to die before it can be reborn.
But even then, the Kingpin, if he did rule, it would not be a good situation. He is still ultimately self-serving, but he, throughout his various appearances, is known to do benefits for society in order to hide the fact he's such a criminal. What I'm saying is that because Wilson Fisk is so clever and so down to earth, mostly, he at least would know how to camouflage his criminal activities to make some benefit for society. We're at the top 3 now, and these next 3 I think are the only ones who wouldn't be the worst possible cases. These aren't terrible, but they're not good either.
You are trespassing on Latverian soil.
Here we go, boys.
Now.
Come on, Robin.
I expect Doom this low on this list. I mean, relatively speaking, still top 3, but I digress. Doom is the leader of Latveria, a benevolent tyrant whose people love him. Bast, the god of Wakanda, say that Doom, if he were in charge, could further the path to humanity's ultimate success, that the world might be better off under Doom's command. However, he's still a tyrant. The comics are kind of complicated with this.
God of Wakanda sounds like an asshole.
Is written in a way where he acts in a way that's overtly malicious or overtly destructive. The writers will say, oh, it wasn't really Doom that did that. It was a Doom bot. It was some other circumstance that led to Doom seemingly doing something, but he really wasn't doing that bad thing. Doesn't change the fact he's still a dictator in charge of Latveria. Doom is driven by pride. During Secret Wars, he even rewrites the whole of reality, and all of that is undone thanks to his grudge against Reed Richards. His grudge against Reed Richards is ultimately his own undoing every single time. Because of his pride, he undermines any possibility of success to attack Reed. But Doom is also not as evil as people would like him to believe, including Doom to his enemies. Doom still does want to benefit the world. In the process, he's launched invasions against Wakanda. In X-Men 97, he helps Bastion's plan to hollow out the souls of humanity in order to destroy mutants.
Do not mistake Doom's collusion as indifference to flagrant war crimes.
Next time I'll send memos.
Doom is still involved in the cabal with Norman Osborn. Doom, despite saying he wants to do better, is still willing to work with the most evil people alive. Even though he is Romani, he still works with Red Skull. Like, that tells you something, doesn't it? You're still going to work with someone who committed horrible atrocities against your people. But other side of that is that he'll do anything, no matter how terrible, in order to make the world a better place. So from Doom's perspective, every action he takes, no matter how terrible or how cruel, furthers two ends: to improve the planet and to get revenge upon that scheming Reed Richards. Okay.
I will bring you home, old friend.
Here we go.
And I ask only one thing in return.
Here we go. Ant's fucking waifu.
Don't get in my way.
Magneto is complicated. Magneto ultimately
You don't
wants one
say!
thing: mutant kind to be free of human domination. Whether that means conquering and destroying humanity, or finding a peaceful balance between humans and mutants, or just pure isolationism entirely, depends on the writer. Magneto, much like Doom, has been written in various different ways over the course of forever. The closest we ever get to Magneto truly ruling, however,
distill
besides
it down to
Krakoa,
one version, dumbass. That's why I said that earlier.
He's somewhat revised his view on Magneto now. He used to be like, they didn't know what they wanted to do with Magneto. Now he's just like, oh, he's been a lot of different writers, a lot of different ways. He must have gotten enough comments on that video where people were like, no, you dumbass.
Good. And it was
been
me.
50 years.
And I'm the fucking reason for all those comments.
It was me, Ant. It was
It's
always
me, Ant! Oh, God. Oh, son of a bitch. What? It was me, Ant! It was me all along, Ant! Anyway.
Is the House of M storyline. In this alternate reality, Magneto does take over the world. He overthrows S.H.I.E.L.D., who's been funding the construction of Sentinels. He instills him and his royal family as the authoritative power of the world. And he did work with humans to do that, such as Carol Danvers. However, it comes at the cost of Xavier. And with Xavier's passing, Magneto does try to continue the legacy of Professor X. During Age of Apocalypse, Magneto becomes a freedom fighter, trying to overthrow Apocalypse to instill a world where people can live freely. He sees that the world Apocalypse is built, where the strong dominate the weak. That's a bad thing, and he tries to correct that. Oh yeah, and during that Acts of Vengeance storyline I mentioned at the top of this video, yeah, he's the one who puts Red Skull in the ground.
Yeah,
not
you already
Doom, not
mentioned that in your
Kingpin,
last
not Loki.
video.
Magneto. He locks
Did you guys know Red Skull is bad?
Thanks, Ant.
him up in an underground bunker with nothing and leaves him there. I feel that bears mention. Magneto is not necessarily evil in every continuity. In fact, most of the time he's not evil. There are exceptions, of course. Ultimate Magneto, for example, reverses the poles of the planet and decides to cast
so you
everything
know
into
their
pure
ultimate
destruction.
continuity, so
His
that didn't stop you from judging them as if they were the fucking, like... So, okay, oh my god, I don't want to go down that fucking shit again. I've already gone over that in the fucking original video I did. Ugh.
Presenting a lot of new information from the last time we saw him talk about Magneto, so I think it's fair to say he took a lot of feedback from that, or he's been researching it more.
I doubt he took feedback, because Ant does not take feedback at all. Like, he
probably comment.
He says that he's improved, but he really has not.
He probably said to all the feedback, no, you're a little bitch. Oh, you're wrong. Why you so mad, bro? And then he's like, oh, shit, but he made a good point. I better actually, like, do that.
Anyway.
Thinking idea of rule is purely to crush everything. Under the writing of Grant Morrison, Magneto becomes an even more pathetic bully, trying to squash and crush resistance. But he's also potentially a successor to Xavier, someone who does herald in an era of peace and happiness,
different
only
writers.
for someone else to ruin it, like with Genosha. The problem with Magneto consistently is it's inconsistent how much he wants to help versus how much he wants to get revenge on humanity. If it's a House of M storyline,
this is not a Watsonian problem. This is a Doyleist problem. The problem is simply that Marvel doesn't know or the writers at least, can't agree on what direction to take him in. This is not a Watsonian issue. This is a Doyleist issue. Also, Briscoe says, I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV right now, and when that music kicked in, it really tripped me out. Sorry, Briscoe. If you guys don't know, I have Terra's theme from Final Fantasy VI playing right now. Anyway, moving on.
Still a better future than every single scenario we've mentioned so far. House of M is preferable to Lex Luthor being president. It's preferable to Ultron. It's preferable to Kang. It's preferable to anything a Vandal Savage ever did.
Well, it's not
so,
preferable if
again,
you're a human,
the question
though.
becomes, is Magneto's rule necessarily a bad thing? At least we have better odds than anyone else. On a very small scale, Magneto still is better than almost all the villains we mentioned so far in terms of how they would function as leaders.
Okay, how would he function as president of a country full of mainly humans, where mutants are a minority? How would he function then? It's like, bruh, he is completely dodging the fucking thesis question of this entire video. He honestly has. He's just asking, it's like, how much would these assholes dominate? When it's like, what would these assholes do if they were president? He is dodging the thesis hard.
Well, and it goes back to he's not willing to do any original thought or like extrapolation or speculation. He just reads what was already written in stories where these people did become rulers and just says what they did. He's just fucking reading wiki pages at this point.
Yeah.
And then just like he could go, okay, so in the scenario now where Magneto is president, he would be the ultimate DEI hire guy. He would probably put all these people, only mutants, in charge of the White House staff or something. Like, I'm just thinking this on the spot, and I feel like it's more than work than he's done as far as actually thinking about the scenario.
And embrace your inner George R.R. Martin here for a minute and ask yourself, what would Magneto's tax policy be?
That's a very good question.
Briscoe says, I love Terra's theme so much, one of my favorites in the entire franchise. Good man. Anyway, here we go, folks. The #1 supervillain. So, it's not Doom, it's not Lex. Oh, hang on, who is it?
All right. Let's see. It's, any guesses?
I got nothing. I know he's not going to pick a Sentinels character. I got nothing left.
Darkseid.
Well, he already ruled out Darkseid. It's like, well, actually, hang on a minute. He kept Darkseid off the list, but the first half of this list is genocidal assholes like Darkseid. What the hell?
And all universal ruling beings, Ultron, whenever he gets power.
Yeah. Jacob, who even cares? We care. Anyway.
It'll be like Penguin or Two-Face or somebody.
Rule over everything.
Probably you like
Sauron. He's fucking with us. This has got to be this has got to be a fucking troll fucking answer before he reveals the real one.
It's before the bookmark. It's before the bookmark.
All right, hang on. Here we go.
Sauron. Yes, Sauron, the pterodactyl mutant guy who absorbs powers from the Savage Land. Personally, I am all for his policies of turning everyone...
Oh, here it is. I knew he was going to use this panel.
Yeah,
this is a hilarious panel.
Yeah.
But I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
Sauron is never living this down. No.
Into a dinosaur.
I can't wait for the being Margaret Rifle.
Cancer.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Forget all that. Why would you want to cure cancer when you can instead turn everyone into dinosaurs? Oh wait, hang on. I read the wrong note. Let me try that again.
You're not funny, Ant.
Okay. Right, this time. There is one exception to this, and that is.
Come on.
I fucking called it. I fucking called it.
Loki.
Oh my god. I wasn't even trying to call it. I was just fucking bullshitting. I was right.
Jeez.
Holy shit. Fine.
And he shows a clip from the fucking Loki show, of course.
I don't even know if I should be proud or disappointed. Holy shit.
Ant's mad at you right now. He's like, how did he predict my video? He must have pre-watched it.
I swear to God I didn't watch this. I'm legit blown away with myself. Oh my God.
Do what he can
Let's keep
to
going.
take command of Asgard, to take command of Midgard, to dominate everything. But at the end of the day, what does Loki really want to do when he rules? As we see with the MCU, Apparently, he wants to sit on a sofa eating grapes while funding the arts. Yes, he is very lackadaisical in his rule.
9 realms completely in chaos.
Yes, when he does rule in the comics, like in the Loki graphic novel, he's more sullen and withdrawn, more contemplating his ideas, punishing his immediate enemies.
You'll ignore that.
But he doesn't really have much of a long-term plan of dominion. He's more just, he wants to take it over, and then he'll manage it as it goes. Loki, throughout the comic book history, is presented as putting forward an evil face, becoming a portrait of wickedness. But often that portrait of wickedness is not aligned with what he really wants on the inside. Even different versions of himself, like with Kid Loki, exist at odds with his more dastardly schemes. Is he still a villain? Yeah, but there's nothing to indicate that Loki, when he rules, would necessarily be a bad ruler. If anything, he'd be a very middle-of-the-road leader. He probably wouldn't instill too much control on...
Well, he'd be laissez-faire. He would just not do shit. So you're basically saying it's better than ruling as a tyrant. Although it kind of depends in the Marvel world. If you're like 2 hands off, then you're all gonna get consumed by something else that'll just destroy the universe, you know, before too long. I feel like what if Surtur just comes along because he's not watching and blows everybody up? Is that worse than them losing a little bit of control and living?
Yeah. Got Jacob. We got Jacob. Loki 2028, I guess. The libs would think Loki's a fan of DEI, probably. I don't know, man. Keep going.
I mean, based on how Asgard looked in the MCU, probably.
Yeah.
He would fuck with him. He'd make everybody an illusion and get them to vote for, you know, or inaugurate some, like, you know, black lesbian. Then he'd be like, ah, and he'd make it a white dude, and they'd all be like, oh.
Yeah.
Try to overthrow him.
The illusion looks a lot like Valkyrie.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a good leader, but in terms of the scale we're discussing,
yes, they're villains.
It's vastly better than almost everyone else, except for maybe Magneto and Doom, that we've discussed so far. None of these people should be in charge. Not a single one of them should ever control everything.
Yes, they're villains.
But in the world of supervillains, Loki at least is interested mainly in basking in his own glory and leaving the other affairs to those he thinks are better qualified, to an extent. In the case of the MCU, maybe he has too loose of a rule, which is bad and not good. But again, that's still preferable. But even getting back to the MCU, I want to talk about the end of the Loki series, where Loki overthrows Kang to instill his own...
Oh, I forgot about this retarded ending to Loki season 2.
And in this one,
where it's like, it's all multiplying. We still can't account for everything. It's all vaporizing again. Oh, Loki has to take all the timelines, and for some reason they fucking live now, even though they didn't before, because he's running them through a Loki filter.
And they call Michael Wardren a genius.
The liberator who allows reality to go in different directions, to instill the chaos of choice, where before there was only the order of a singular direction. In that sense, he's able to open up the world to new possibilities, instilling freedom to untold levels than ever.
Which we thought we had before the fucking series, before they said, nope, there was no freedom of thought, everything was controlled by Kang. Like, they're undoing their own retcon, so now we're just back to square one after 2 seasons.
Yay.
Before, chaos is not evil. Chaos is disorder. And with a lot of these leaders that we've discussed,
you're an anarchist, we get it.
They instill order on a massive scale. Again, Magneto is one of the exceptions to that, but the others instill such a strict order, it limits the freedom that you're able to embody and present. Loki is the only one who runs counter to that, who opens the door up to options, to choice of an untold level. That is what makes him a far better leader than almost everyone else in this list so far. Because if you give the option between choice and control, you will always want to leave the door open to the choice to live your life the way...
A lot of them still had choice. You could still make your own decisions in those worlds. You just couldn't be a criminal, or, you know, you'd be watched a little closer in some of them. Like, they weren't all just like, I'm going to control all your thoughts all the time. He acts like having like robots watching over or whatever, but then everybody just kind of lives their life normally. He's like, oh, I don't know, Norman Osborn. He invaded that one place. It's so bad.
You want to live it, and that's why Loki wins this. So there you go. Loki wins. He won something for once.
This video was
Didn't you just show the ending of the? Didn't you just show the ending of the show where he wins and like becomes the keeper of all time and shit? He's like, he won something for once.
This video, this was probably one of Ant's worst.
What is this?
This was one of Ant's worst for the sheer fact that it was a giant waste of time.
It's pretty much so he could disavow villains a bunch of times.
Right.
He's just like, this villain is bad, by the way. Thanks, I didn't know that from the fact that he's a fucking villain. This will be a good one for next time.
Oh,
Why did he abandon the American
Oh shit,
way?
do we want to watch this one right now?
It's 47 minutes.
Hang on, okay folks, let's vote right now. Do we want to watch, hang on, let's vote right now if we want to watch this. John, do you want to watch this video now? Yes or no?
What time is it? Yeah, I'd be up for it.
Alright, Evan, do you want to watch this? Yes or no?
Where I'm at, so yeah, I guess I could take a look at it.
Alright, okay, well, alright, we got 2 votes. Let's do it, folks. Has Superman abandoned the American way? Let's jump into this. This will probably be good.
I'm gonna let you guys do, like a thesis or something because I do have to take a piss.
What the fuck?
Oh, zit!
What
the?
What the fuck, Ant?
Occasion.
What the fuck are you wearing? God.
Can't even button the top button because he's too fucking fat.
This is
Alright,
so
I'll be
Alright.
back in like a minute or 2.
Be back. Hang on. I gotta get Mom's Cedar to look at this shit. Hang on. Mom. Hey, Mom, can I get your opinion on something? How stupid does Ant look here? Yeah, he looks really fucking stupid. Holy shit. Oh my god. It's like, what were you thinking, asshole?
Like if Clark Kent, if his superpower was drinking too much.
Yeah, it's Clark Kent, but if he was raised on soy milk, yeah.
Let me look through the live chat real quick. What else is that?
What'd you say, Evan?
I'm looking through the live chat real quick to see what I've missed.
There's only like 2 people in there. You're not missing much.
I think I just found my favorite comment.
Which one?
Don't you ever mock my disability.
Evan, I'm sorry. It's like Evan, if you're gonna chat in here, please use proper grammar. Holy hell.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, Jacob. I meant Jacob. Yeah. Anyway.
I was gonna say you're insulting someone else's disability now. Jeez.
Anyway, let's keep going.
I don't even have a disability.
I know. Let's keep going.
Look, man,
folks.
it's okay to have a disability.
Let's keep going.
In 2021, DC's chief creative officer Jim Lee stated that
I'll even say I have a favorite disability.
Moving on. Jim Lee. Here we go.
Justice and the American way, but rather stood for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow.
Yeah, and it was stupid.
This was reflective, Jim Lee argued, of the current reality of Superman as a figure who pushed the world to be better than it currently was. But, as with all changes in comic books, it caused some controversy.
And so this says, this is a tweet, obviously screenshots. So it says, Dean Cain, who played Superman in the Superman show. I promise you, as Superman, I wouldn't today be allowed to say
See that Star Wars girl is doing the rogue look with her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, what a lot of people might not realize is that the motto, Truth, Justice, and the American Way, isn't from the comics initially.
So
Rather,
what?
it came from...
Okay. It's from like 50 years before it was gotten rid of.
the Superman radio serial as part of the war effort. returning later for the George Reeves Adventures of Superman TV show.
Fight a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way.
These two adaptations of Superman comics spread the idea, more than any other piece of Superman media, that Superman represented the American dream, establishing Superman as an American icon, arguably far more than the less subtle Captain America. But while the phrase truth, justice, American way might be iconic today,
oh my God,
it wasn't really employed all that much.
This isn't the usual animated icon, yes. Also, Ant, why do you have an animated icon if you appear on screen anyway? Like, does that not piss anyone off? Like, when someone has both an animated icon and they appear on screen at the same time? It's like, pick one or the other. Don't do this fucking both drive in both lanes bullshit. Anyway.
Maybe trying to drip feed the idea of an animated show based on him. And
oh God.
I'll be ass. Anyway.
The evil villain backseater.
You know what? Bring it on. I'm a self-admitted evil guy. Let's do it. I'll happily be the villain on that shit.
I like how his eyes fill out the glasses frames, even though that makes for really oddly shaped eyes.
Yeah.
Adaptations.
I also like how the eyebrows are leaking the banks of his hair.
The eyebrows are popping off his head, yeah.
Maybe the hair is consumed his forehead.
Yeah.
His initial film.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
Hell yeah, brother!
You're gonna end up fighting every elected official in this country.
But strangely, in the show Lois and Clark, which stars the noteworthy right-wing actor Dean Cain, Superman doesn't say...
Does he ever note left-wing actors, I wonder?
No, of course not. Well, I mean, anyway. What, John?
Yeah, they're just allowed to spout off whatever they want, and they never.
Like, what was that tweet Dean Cain even made anyway? John, go back. I want to read that.
He said something about he wouldn't be allowed to say truth, justice, and the American way today. Hang on.
I will say the
John, just use the J button. Use the J button, John.
I thought it was more than 10 seconds ago.
No, it was not. It was not that long ago. Whatever, just play it.
With Justice American Way in his initial film.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
You're gonna end up fighting every elected official in this country.
But strangely, in the show Lois and Clark, which stars the noteworthy...
Boss!
Oh,
okay.
that one.
Spent most
Sorry,
of the day
showed one before that.
Spent most of the day on planes, breathing my own CO2. Okay, so what? He made a silly tweet. What's wrong with... What's the problem with him being right-wing about this? All he
this
did...
is totally true, by the way.
Yes.
Those masks are annoying as fuck to wear on those planes.
Yeah. Anyway.
I didn't even wear a mask when COVID was in its prime.
Fuck that noise. I didn't. No. Anyway.
Two on the plane. Unfortunately, I took a plane.
Right-wing actor Dean Cain, Superman doesn't say he fights for the American way. He fights for truth and justice, but not the American way. Adaptations like Superman Returns have irony-poisoned characters
I met that guy.
dismiss the motto.
Politics, does he still stand for truth, justice, all that stuff?
While Zack Snyder's Man of Steel completely ignores it exists. So it shouldn't surprise anyone that a catchphrase that's barely been used by Superman in the last 30 years is being replaced, though ancient method has been used since the...
Hold on, dude, I don't care if it's barely been used. It's still iconic. Don't fuck with it. It's like Superman's costume. I don't care if you want to change it. Just don't fuck with it. If you change it, we'll fucking get mad at you.
What color is his costume, by the way?
Come on, John. Anyway, let me catch up on chat.
No, I'm laughing because it's very clear that he's associated with America from a number of things, not just the catchphrase.
Yeah, it stars... Briscoe, a Fantastic Four First Step stars noteworthy left-wing actor Pedro Pascal. Yeah, Ant wouldn't care.
It shows a tweet of him tweeting about illegal immigrants or some shit.
Yeah, Jacob, this guy...
That is a quote from the alternative Earth version
of Ant. Yeah, the cool one. Jacob says, this guy would be like Lois and Clark is not canon. Probably would be, yeah. Anyway, moving on.
And very clearly, the purpose of this video is that he wants to act like Superman is not associated with America, basically, in any way. So that's the only reason why you would bring this phrase into such question.
He still is both in universe and out of universe, like in the books, in everything else he's been in, and in real life. So yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee you he's going to be like, well, really, he represents world values. Like, that's going to be one of his fucking points.
Announcement being replaced.
Superman represents the best that we can be.
Very noteworthy story. They used it quite well. What's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way? It's a story where Superman is confronted by Manchester Black, a rogue anti-hero who believes Superman's mercy and idealism is a weakness rather than a strength, who believes that Superman fights for a corrupt country rather than a dream. Now, Black's methods are far more permanent and brutal, one might say, and Superman confronts Black and his crew, the elite, by pretending to use the same means they use on others against them, demonstrating how easy it could be for Superman to use his power to permanently end crime like they do. It's just he chooses not to. Manchester Black at one point taunts Superman, insisting he represents not the American way, but the American right-wing military complex, a force of colonialism that dominates the rest of the world under the might of the red, white, and blue flag.
What the fuck does colonialism have to do with anything?
No offense. That sounds like a bunch of comedy gobbledygook.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The story isn't about the American military might or Western colonialism. It's about the American way. The story leads us on this final interaction between Manchester Black and Superman. Black argues that Superman's methods are a fantasy, one that can never actually have a positive impact on the world, while Superman argues right back in a more declarative final voice that dreams and optimism bring the world hope, and that the possibility of a better tomorrow can help change the present day, push us further along the path to progress. So even stories where they talk about the American way, it's not that Superman sees himself as a representative of America, but rather an emblematic feature of the American dream. So what is that? What is the American way that
the American dream is the American way? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're obviously intricately linked, and like basically it's the same concept. It's like the ideal America, yes.
Well, then again, Ant is so anti-American, he wouldn't know that.
That's why he's making this whole video. He has to separate Superman from America because he's not going to try to disown Superman.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, Superman has nothing to do with America.
Yeah.
And justice. When the motto was first made in the 40s, the phrase, the American way, brought a very different idea than it does 80 years later. Superman's American way catchphrase was originally created during World War II, an era of hyper-patriotism in response to the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Superman stood in opposition to the enemies of America. And a lot of superhero serials at the time featured iconic cape heroes.
I just love that art on the Japanese guy in that comic.
Yeah.
It was the most racist shit.
Superman says you can slap a Jap. Yeah.
Reminds me of the what was it, a Bugs Bunny cartoon where he beats up the Japanese dude the whole time.
Yeah.
Being representatives of Japan, Germany, and Italy, though mostly Japan, or something suitably foreign and unknown, such as the case in The Adventures of Captain Marvel, the first superhero adaptation where Captain Marvel fights an evil scientist in Siam, now Thailand. But when it came time for Superman to be in the serials, he fought villains. The second serial, Atom Man vs. Superman, pitted Lex Luthor against Superman. The first film, a generic villain. Not Nazis or America's enemies, but Superman's enemies. People who were greedy, who wanted to subjugate the weak. Batman served in serials more to enact America's military structure than Superman. So why is Superman labeled the all-American hero? The embodiment of the American way? Well, simply put, the American way is vastly different than the American military complex.
No shit.
That's why he doesn't say I represent truth, justice, the American military complex.
Oh my god, it's like, bruh, it's that simple, yet it's like he's acting like this is this big revelation. Oh. Jacob says, I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
Oh, just that nobody has ever associated Superman with like being the forefront of the, like, other than in the Dark Knight Returns, he's sort of at the head of the military, but that's always portrayed as a bad thing. Nobody in the like the regular version is like, oh, he's clearly the spearhead of the military.
Hell, not even Bunker is associated with the American military complex. What the hell are you on? And Bunker is literally like the most militaristic superhero you can get. Anyway, Jacob says, Ant is still a virgin. Yes, he is. He claims to have a wife and kid, but let's be real, he's bullshitting. Anyway.
The kid happens to be black.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yes.
His wife was like, "Oh, it's a recessive gene, honey."
Yeah.
Anyways, he's like, "Whoa, I don't understand how that works."
Based their creation on three
This
things.
dude.
The science fiction that they were growing up with,
Well,
stars
what?
in films they loved, such as Harold Lloyd,
Yeah.
stars in films they loved, such as Harold
John
Lloyd,
Jay, fuck
Jerry
Jay,
Siegel and
John
George
Jay!
the creators of Superman.
Yeah, but it has a little
Wait, hold
picture
on.
there at the bottom. It's so easy. I just love the look of this guy on the left, the Schuster. He's,
Joe Schuster.
he is the most relaxed looking man in that picture. He just looks like he's like about 6 whiskeys deep and just like, where the hell am I? That tie is the fattest tie, and those pants are as high as they go.
Briscoe, the old Dick Tracy cartoons had hilarious Japanese stereotypes as well. Yeah, so I've seen, yeah. Anyway.
Their creation on three things. The science fiction that they were growing up with, stars in films they loved, such as Harold Lloyd, and their own lives. Lois Lane, for example, was designed...
Where were their lives again?
Cleveland. Cleveland.
Wait, what country does Cleveland reside in? That's odd.
America! Hang on.
No, first it's the strange state of Ohio.
Yeah. Jacob says it's probably his wife's lover's kid. Yeah, and it definitely is a case of my wife's boyfriend. Yeah. Anyway.
I like to watch, honey. Let me get my cuck chair.
Let me get the camera set up real nice so I can fap to this later.
Let me know if you need anything. I'll bring water.
Yes.
After a model who would later become Jerry Siegel's wife.
Okay.
Siegel and Schuster would base the fact that Clark wore glasses on the fact that they both wore glasses.
Both Joe and I, wear glasses.
None of this has anything to do with America
and it
or
occurred
not.
to me that there was no adventure comic superhero at that time who wore glasses, so I thought it would be quite different to have Clark Kent wear glasses, and also the wearing of glasses gives the impression of meekness and mildness, which goes into Harold Lloyd, the influence of Harold Lloyd on us and his movies. We were both great movie fans, and we especially loved some of those movies in which Harold Lloyd would start off as a sort of mama's boy, being pushed around, kicked around, thrown around, and then suddenly would turn into a fighting whirlwind.
They would model Superman's expressions after their own faces. And the fact that Superman is an immigrant who lands in America as a baby after the destruction of Krypton, well, that's because Siegel was born from Jewish immigrants, and Schuster was himself.
So he was born in America, so I think is what you meant to say there.
Yeah.
He was born by immigrants.
Yeah, and
Canada.
hang on, and the thing about the immigrant analogy of Superman is that it doesn't really work all that much because Superman has no memory of Krypton at all. And the first generation immigrant thing doesn't work because Jor-El and Lana didn't make the trip with him. So the immigrant analogy just does not work with Superman. It only works in like a tangential, metaphysical kind of way, but not in like a literal analogy. No. Let's see here. Jacob says, "Why does Ant sound like the dad from Chicken Little?" I don't fucking know.
Yes, but his family emigrated to Canada from the crumbling Russian Empire. Is it really any surprise that Mario Puzo, the man most famous for drafting the most iconic story about Italian-American immigrants, based on his own experience as an Italian-American, would draft the script for Superman the movie? Is there any shock that drew this kind of narrative from immigrants who want to tell...
Famous screenwriter drafts popular movie script? No, that's really not odd at all.
No, he's saying, is it really odd that all these authors are putting their influences as immigrants into this character? It's like, oh my god.
Well, his only connection there was like, this guy made another story about immigration, and he also wrote Superman. It's like, okay, Ridley Scott wrote Alien, and he also, I'm not sure if he wrote it. He directed Alien, and he also directed Gladiator. Clearly, he was putting Alien connections into Gladiator then, by your logic. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? People can write or direct two different things.
I don't fucking know, man.
Through the fabric of the American mythology itself,
And there's one thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason.
The Kents didn't raise Superman to be a force of power or domination. Though Superman could, if he wanted, dominate the entire world, all governments, everyone. He just doesn't. He leads by example.
To be a great people, Kal-El, they wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way. For this reason, above all, their capacity for good, I have sent them you, my only son.
It's for this reason that some, like Puzo, reinterpreted Superman as a Jesus figure, something Zack Snyder took full advantage of by having Superman drifting around with his arms spread like a cross, or having him appear around stained glass representations of Jesus. But Superman is not Jesus. I think the idea of two...
Yeah.
Wait, what? He's not Jesus?
You don't say!
Clearly these Jews wanted him to be Jesus.
Being a Jesus allegory is already...
Well, Jesus was a Jew.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
No, Superman isn't
Honestly,
Jesus.
hang on.
He's Moses.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. God damn it, Ant. He beat me to the punch. Ah. Anyway, moving on.
He parted the Red Sea, and also his one story is called Red Sun. Coincidence? I think not.
And he's,
Just
wearing
like
and he's wearing a red robe, and Superman has a red cape.
Superman parts the Red Sea with his heat vision.
Yeah.
Guys, I think Gandalf was inspired by Moses. I mean, look at the similarities: a staff, a beard.
Yeah.
Holy and he also Obi-Wan Kenobi. Also, look at those robes that are underneath the red ones. I mean, they're just like Jedi robes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Jacob, what the fuck is he talking about? I don't know. Just let let Ant be Ant. He's got to get it out somehow.
He tries to babble past these points fast enough that I think he's hoping that people don't notice, where he's just like, he says the two things that he wants to be related, but if you actually listen to the words, it makes no sense how he's trying to relate them.
Yeah.
Society adopted into a new world where he brings revolution to a system riddled with injustice. While he has incredible power, he only uses it under incredible circumstances, instead encouraging others to live by example. I don't necessarily know if this was intentional, but it is what Superman is, and the parallel exists. This right away...
Okay, Superman is not trying to establish rules like the Ten Commandments. He just generally helps people. He's not like trying to get, unless you count Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, where he goes in and says all the nations to disable their nuclear arms, of course.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem to be a real systemic change kind of guy. He's more just kind of like, you know, small town American vibes, because he was raised in small town Kansas, where he's just trying to generally do the right thing and live his life.
Right.
Anyways.
Establish something. Superman's a figure who left a dying world, arrived in a new world, willing to welcome him, where he could achieve his dreams and add value to the world. In effect, this is the American dream circa 1930. That anyone can come here and make something of themselves to make the world a better place.
He didn't choose to come here. He was a baby. So there's a little bit of a flaw in your little analogy there.
Yeah.
And for 2, he was raised like the kids in his school didn't need to accept him as an alien. Like they didn't know that he had powers and everything.
Right.
So this whole like, and the world accepted him. It's like, well, he didn't even fucking use his powers until he was like an adult.
Hell, he didn't even know he was an alien until like middle or high school.
He was like a teenager when he first found out.
Around that time, yeah. Briscoe, has this guy tried playing with his pecker to get it out instead of overanalyzing everything like a tool? No. Yeah.
It's why people immigrated here. It's why people come here.
A dream. But a dream is often muddied by reality. And indeed, Superman immediately, in real life and in fiction, found himself in conflict. The American dream conflicting with the American reality.
Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster no longer own Superman. In 1938, they sold the rights for $130 to DC Comics, now a division of Warner Communications. They own the new feature films, Superman 1 and 2. Siegel and Shuster had to stand by and watch their creation become a multi-million-dollar industry.
And this is the complicated paradox of Superman. What is the American dream?
Okay, them selling Superman has literally nothing to do with the story. What?
Yeah, it's more, oh, big business is bad because they don't let artists make money. I'm willing to bet he's gonna go down this.
And where does the American way
I
transition?
will say the
into
story
our
behind the creators of Superman selling off their character to Warner Brothers and the whole complication behind that, it would make for a very interesting movie.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of comic creators that, yeah, they kind of got screwed over in one way or another. I remember, like, what was it? Jack Kirby, the whole, like, Kirby estate was all, they were awful to them for a while.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So it's like, yeah, like, but they didn't know that was going to happen whenever they were writing the stories, though. So
Yeah.
obviously it didn't have any bearing on how they wrote the character initially.
real life.
Hang
In
on,
the comics, Superman
John,
enlisted in the U.S. military.
Ant
really
is,
like the panel.
Ant is like, well, little Ant, another failed Tinder date once again. I don't get it. I'm sorry. Jacob, again, you got to punctuate your sentences better.
So I think Jacob is saying that Little Ant is his name for his dick.
Oh!
So Ant is consoling his dick at the end of another failed date. He's like, well, Little Ant, another failed Tinder date.
Anyway, next.
He loves this cover, though. He must really hate Japanese people or something.
Yeah.
He loves to show their stereotypical, terrible look.
During the World War II war effort, Superman became a representative of America, urging American kids to buy stamps and invest in the military structure to aid in the war effort.
There can only be one
Captain
Superman.
America says, buy war bonds.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a
Buy war-
Wonder Woman episode about that, too.
Yeah.
Keep buying those bonds.
Do you ever think about some of the super things that you can do for yourself? Well, like saving up the money for your own vacation, or for that new bike that you wanted so much. Well, all you have to do is just put away part of your allowance or your odd job money and put it in United States savings stamps at school.
In Superman's 2 serials, which were made after World War II, however, Superman just fights a generic villain and Lex Luthor, which, hey, great. But the radio specials after World War II moved on to a different target, one that their Superman could fight,
Communism.
enemy to the American people. And again, keep in mind, the radio broadcast was the first place to embrace the motto, truth, justice, and the American way. So, their Superman targeted the most un-American force they could think of, the most dangerous thing to the average American civilian. Something that was destroying the foundation of American society at its core. Superman went from fighting Nazis to fighting the Klan.
Well, did you hear that, brothers in the Klan? That young whelp who
They're
is
like
not
the
a true American.
They're like
who
the
can never...
third. They're like the third biggest threat to the common American man. I wouldn't say they're the number one. I'm sorry, Ann.
Some politicians said recently they're like the biggest threat to America is white supremacy or something.
Yeah.
And it was like the same like bullshit. It's like, okay, there's like a few racist people out there, sure. You know what the Klan does? They gather around, they burn some shit, at least from what I hear. Obviously, I've never been in a Klan rally. But from what they always show is they gather around, they bitch and moan about stuff, and then they burn something, and then they leave. There's a reason they do shit in secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they don't hold any real power. They're not a real big threat.
Yeah,
I honestly
the
thought he was gonna say
Klan,
the
the
Russians.
Klan.
The biggest thing, in my opinion, was that appearance they did on Jerry Springer.
Yeah, the Klan are they're pretty irrelevant. No one takes them seriously. No.
They're like the flat earthers or the, you know, the anti-Semites and shit. Although the anti-Semites, they're gaining a bit of traction recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jacob, was it Jasmine Crockett? I don't know who that is.
She's a politician. I forget who it was, but it might have even been Biden. Sleepy Joe. I would think that during this time, you know, Russians, you know, whenever they got nukes and shit, I think that's a bigger threat to the U.S. than a few fucking people gathering around burning crosses and bitching and moaning about racism and shit. It's like, well, do you want to be nuked or do you want to deal with like 100 racist dudes in the town?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Be a true American tried to kill this fatherless American boy, and why? Because he has been schooled by his kind and their foreign sympathizers to strike against our plan for a pure, clean America. An American free from mixed races, mixed colors, and mixed religions.
But they didn't just fight him in a fictional setting. The radio broadcast fought the Klan in American reality and brought about a massive change that we are still feeling the ramifications of.
Oh, we are not. Oh, we
the
are
radio
not.
broadcast ended the Klan.
Oh, we are not. We are not. Oh, hang on, John. Go back 10 seconds. All right.
We went from angry ant to proud ant with that 10 seconds.
Anyway.
In a fictional setting, the radio broadcast fought the Klan in American reality and brought about a massive change that we are still feeling the ramifications of to this day.
Oh, no, we are
better.
not.
Jim
Not
Olsen, hurry.
anymore. No, the Klan's over. We are not still feeling it anymore. No.
Well, over because of this radio broadcast, I
Yeah.
think he's going to say.
Anyway,
That's
hang on.
not to mention, no one listens to radio anymore. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. They're all on Spotify now, yeah.
Out after Clark Kent, still puzzled by the reason for the un-American attack on Tommy Lee's family. Why are these people the object of the vicious secret band's fanatical hatred? What will happen to the Lees and to Jim Olsen if this grim, cowardly warning of intolerance is ignored?
A little background on the Superman radio show, The Adventures of Superman, as it was called. It was started in 1940, very soon after the character's debut in Action Comics #1, and ended in 1951. In those first 5 years, Superman consistently fought enemies of America, specifically the Nazis and Japan. Its audience primarily consisted of kids whose dads were off fighting and moms who were helping with the war effort at home. World War II really dominated all aspects of American life.
Surprised they didn't try to
And
cancel
so the show was
Superman today, considering he fought against the Japanese. I'm surprised I haven't given them the Dr. Seuss treatment.
Yeah.
It also offered American propaganda, but again, I think most people agree the Nazis were objectively bad in World War II, so propaganda away.
And who else, Ant? We weren't only fighting the Nazis, you know. The Italians, the Japanese, nothing to say about them? Okay.
In this case. That said, the racist depiction of the Japanese people on those serials, it's, well, less
Oh, it's too
And when the
racist.
war
So that
ended,
doesn't count.
they really had nothing else for Superman to fight. The show rose to popularity because Superman was the embodiment of America during this conflict, beating down America's greatest enemies. I think the creatives realized that they needed to target a new enemy of the American way. And so, in 1946, they aired the 15-part radio serial, The Clan of the Fiery Cross.
Last night, a burning cross was planted on our front lawn by a bunch of men wearing hoods and gowns.
In it, an Asian American family is targeted by the Klan, and the family's son reaches out to Superman for help.
Now, this already would make for a compelling story, but what makes this serial important not just in terms of Superman's history, but in terms of American history, is the contributions of Stetson Kennedy. Kennedy was an author who investigated the Klan. He found a way to sneak into their membership and take account of all their inner workings, from secret operations to hidden...
Well, I mean, it could have also just been a statement against FDR and his Japanese internment camps during the war, you know.
Yeah.
Those are pretty anti-Japanese, Ant. I wonder if you're gonna mention that at all.
Hang on. Briscoe, Diffwent, Destroya. This guy needs to learn to talk properly if he's gonna do videos. Yeah, pretty much.
Him and Tom Homan need to have a debate.
Tom
It'd be a battle of who can slur their words worse.
Oh my god.
Code words. He realized quickly, though, that he couldn't take this information to the cops, because the cops were also in on it. There were tons of cops in the Klan. So instead, he took it to the writers of the Superman radio show, who thought it was just too fascinating not to turn into a program.
This single radio broadcast completely fragmented the Klan in real life. On the air, they revealed all the secrets to the public, all their code words, all their locations, all their strategies. The Klan targeted the sponsor of the Superman show, Kellogg's, yes, the cereal company, to stop either the writers, the broadcast, or the entire show from airing. But the ratings were just so good, Kellogg refused. They took a stand in the ground and said, no, we are not bending to your pressure. We will continue to air this. And this resulted in the end of the second coming of the Klan in America.
The radio show stopped the Klan from forming in America.
Yeah,
okay.
apparently. Okay.
What was gonna happen, Ant? Was the Klan gonna take over the government if this radio show didn't broadcast? Was the conspiracy so deep? Was Truman controlled?
Ant is making this out like he's just discovered the conspiracy from Killer 7. Like, do you guys know what I'm talking about in that game?
I have not played it. I know it's a Suda 51 game on
get a load
GameCube.
of this. The Japanese government has been controlling who becomes the American president through one, count 'em, one, elementary school in Seattle. Yeah,
Say what?
Exactly, Evan.
Yeah, I just love how he's like, oh, a bunch of kids listened to a radio show and it got really high ratings. And it could have been about any like organization that wanted to get it turned down. That doesn't mean that that organization was somehow like gonna take over everything if it didn't air. Like,
Yeah, Jacob. Ant is like, I am so smart. I am so smart. SMRT.
People always look at Birth of a Nation as the point where this clan rose back to prominence, but people forget this broadcast.
no, idiots think about it as that.
Yeah.
The fucking clan was around and they gradually dissipated until this day. Like, they didn't have any great resurgence. They didn't have any. Oh, Jesus.
Is what stifled their growth immediately. Because the more the public knew about their activities and strategies, the more they could resist and the more they could fight. And the clan knew this. Public support for them dropped quickly. Who knows what could happen if that broadcast didn't air and they were allowed growing as a result, corrupting the foundations of America.
Oh my
But one thing
gosh.
Superman avoided
Would have taken over everything.
Vietnam.
Has Superman played a role in other crises that America's been involved in over the years? Korea, Vietnam?
No, we kept them out of the unpopular war.
Unpopular wars, DC deliberately chose to keep Superman out of. The editorial were very careful to avoid linking Superman to problems with America in the 60s and 70s and even 80s.
We have a series of war magazines that we publish and have been publishing for many years. And the war was handled through those magazines only. But we kept saying that these were war stories and war is really hell.
Do you apply a moral code?
We've been very careful in how we handled Superman. I think that it could never have continued over so many years if we didn't watch what we did.
DC was sure to segregate Superman as time went on from the American military. A deliberate choice
That's
that
not the
helped
same thing. That's not the same thing. That just means that they decided to keep his stories apolitical, dumbass. In order to keep,
Yes,
like, in order to keep readers coming, they decided to not have him comment on this out of fear that if they had him pick a side, then readers would bounce.
Yeah, and he was never a member of the military, even during the World War II things. He was always operating independently.
Yeah.
And, like, it's more of a timing of coincidence than anything. He acts like they hijacked the character and made him into this war thing for a few years. It's like, no, that just happened to be when the war started. Like, I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Yeah.
The character got popular in it was created in the late 30s. And then the fucking World War II started for America in 1941. Like, of course he was going to be that for a few years. It was all hands on deck, and a bunch of guys were taken off to war because it was all a draft and everything. And then, yeah, when it ended, yes, he became less military. I don't know what to tell you. Obviously, he's not going to be in every war for all time.
Briscoe says, wasn't the Klan pretty much non-existent even way back then? Yeah, they were really, really small. Briscoe, if this didn't air, it would have been anarchy. Yeah, pretty much.
A Klansman was about to become
had
president.
that radio program not air, we never would have gotten a KKK scene in Harold and Kumar too.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking Django Unchained. Yeah.
I was thinking of Chappelle's show, yeah. Anyway.
Into the longevity of the character. Sergeant Rock, he could be in the military. Superman,
Hell
not so
yeah,
much.
Rock.
He became an ideal to strive for. Fighting Nazis in the Klan were part of that. Enforcing American military force in Vietnam, the Cold War effort, less so.
Rather than
Yes,
fight Vietnam,
fighting in a war
Superman
would be out
instead
of
fight
character for
Muhammad
Superman.
Ali.
We get it.
This is entirely unlike Iron Man and Captain America, who Marvel did lead into the Cold War when writing. Iron Man fought tons of Cold War era
That's
villains
because
representing
Marvel
Russia and
writes their
China.
characters different from DC.
Not every character followed this, therefore.
Yeah.
And also, what's Superman Red's son again? Doesn't that have something to do with Russians?
Yeah. Oh, that's an
The
out of
Crimson
continuity
Dynamo.
story.
Oh, the Mandarin, all that.
My
Captain
boy
America, meanwhile,
Mandarin.
revoked his own title of Captain America, in part due to repulsion of the American military efforts in Vietnam. This is history. This is a thing that the comics did. These two characters represented the diverging political landscape of America in the 60s and 70s. But Superman, again,
Really? They
he
seem
stood for
almost
the
the
American
same.
way.
Yeah, they're not reflective of that. They remain true to their character because they were, I mean, Captain America was, again, during World War II, because everybody agreed on that war. Yeah, and Superman was never a member of the military.
Yeah, hang
Not
on,
the
Jacob.
American-
Jacob here says, wasn't Sergeant Rock was almost had a movie. Yes, that is correct. He almost had his own movie. Yeah, anyway.
History that he was living through. He would always feel a little detached from what was going on because he represented the dream of America being better, of Americans being better. Except for one time. One comic did put Superman as a representative of the American government.
Dark Knight Returns.
Compromise his ethics in the name of the American way abroad. And unfortunately, this comic has become one of the most influential comics of all time, and it has one of the worst depictions of Superman ever. While the comic is great, its Superman served to ruin the public's perception of who Superman was and what true justice American way represented.
Everybody knows Elseworlds. If you're gonna, yep, it is the Dark Knight Returns. I see the chapter now.
Yeah.
But obviously I said that before I saw it.
And Frank Miller did not write his story that way to ruin Superman. He wrote that story that way because Superman and Batman are friends, and he wanted to put them on opposite ends of each other. That's basically it. And Frank Miller has gone on record saying that he really respects Superman. So no, you're full of shit here.
To the character of Superman. When people echo Manchester Black and say Superman is just a toady for the American government, they're usually thinking about the Superman as seen in The Dark Knight Returns
Nobody
by Frank
actually
Miller.
Who
Superman
says that he's a toady?
There's no toys about this. Miller does not get Superman. His Superman is horrendous. In The Dark Knight Returns, Superman is basically an enforcer for an aging Ronald Reagan. He's essentially a blue Boy Scout who serves as an extension of the American military, who is sent to bring Batman down due to his refusal to subject himself to government oversight, or rather, government control. In effect, he is taking the same position Iron Man took during Marvel's Civil War, and I think saying that Superman took the same position as hyper-capitalist Tony Stark, that's a sign you're writing Superman wrong right there. That said, Frank Miller's Superman would only get worse and worse as time went on.
Oh, no.
I mean, again, Frank Miller's work got worse and worse as time went on, but his Superman especially became worse and worse and worse. At least in The Dark Knight Returns, Superman and Batman had a mutual respect of some kind. They liked each other deeply. But as Frank expanded his alternate version of Batman with The Dark Knight Strikes Again, and All-Star Batman and Robin, it became clear that Superman was at best a control-obsessed monster, or a sociopath, who was completely detached from human reality, from human nature. He didn't care about people. He cared about the mission and control of the situation.
That's just
it's
Frank
hard
Miller
to say
being Frank Miller,
how much
bro.
Frank.
Well, and also, this is like he was set on a bad path, starting with the Dark Knight Returns story. Like when Batman disappears for that long and Superman's left to like with no influence to kind of help him, and then the government kind of takes advantage of that and takes more control over him. Like all of this is stemming off of that, so obviously it's going to get worse and worse as he goes more and more on the divergent path. Yeah, it's not that he just continually is getting it wrong, it's the same character in a continuing story.
Yeah.
Frank did this intentionally or not, considering that Miller is far from consistent when writing his characters, even within the same book. How much did Frank Miller intend to make Superman this military toady, an avatar of the American military? And how much did he intend on Batman, by contrast, to become almost a fascist dream, dominating Gotham with an iron fist, controlling all elements of it in order to maintain peace and order? That strength through a singular vision is somehow a strong thing. It's hard to say how much Frank Miller intended it, and how much people can read into the work.
Also, doesn't he only take over Gotham after it like falls into hell?
Yeah.
And people are willing to accept that sort of control because there was like basically a gang of mutants controlling it?
Yeah.
As a result of it being The Dark Knight Returns. But I digress. We really don't know. What we do know is that Superman is written in an uncharacteristic fashion where he's basically a toady to an aging Ronald Reagan. The Dark Knight Returns version of Superman, I think, ruined the way that a certain niche of people saw Superman. Like with most things in comics, it was widely read.
Nobody views that as like the regular version of Superman. Like, he's made two vast like claims that just have no bearing in reality. Between like, oh, people always think that Superman is an extension of the military. It's like nobody thinks that. People always think that Superman is just like in the Dark Knight Returns timeline. But what?
In the niche of comic book fans, of superhero fans, and as a result got spread on the early forum scene back when the internet first started up.
No,
it was
it
pushed
did
around in
not.
magazines at the time,
No,
and so
it
it influenced the
didn't.
public's perception of
Now he's just like revising internet history. Good for you.
Superman. And as a result, people who read those magazines, run those forums, well, they're the people who wrote the scripts for what came after that. How do you make your hero, who's mortal, who's vulnerable, more appealing, compared to Superman? Have Superman be the unrealistic standard to which you compare your hero. Because after all, he can never live up to Superman. And so his problems will then feel more real. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man does this.
Live up to Superman. I think they're just talking like power-wise. They're not saying like you can never be morally as good as Superman. Obviously, a lot of heroes are morally as good as Superman.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he trusts a team. He has a whole fucking league of people that align with his values. Yeah. And now he's going to use this random line about him not being like Superman because she doesn't know that he has any powers at all in this context.
Yes.
This literally has nothing to do with what you're talking about, but you're going to use the line anyway. Here we go.
Not Superman, you know.
Batman and Robin does this.
This is why Superman works alone.
Really?
Really?
You're going to use a
Really,
fucking
Bruce?
joke in Batman and Robin to demonstrate that early internet forums made Superman out to be like... That literally has nothing to do with him being with the government or anything. It's just a joke about Robin being a shit. Like, what a random line to pull as evidence.
Accordingly, there came the parodies of Superman to show how Superman would be if he were quote-unquote realistic. Omni-Man from Invincible, Homelander from The Boys, even to a lesser extent, Marvel's Sentry or Gladiator. Even DC has a few of these with alternate reality.
Different things. Those are what if Superman was evil? Like parodies of Superman would be like fucking. Oh, I'm trying to think here. Fucking like Major Victory or whatever from Powerpuff Girls, for example. I don't fucking know.
Well, and also, like, in The Boys, at least, like, all the heroes are evil, basically, in one way or another. It's supposed to be, like, the realistic version, and it's... Well, no, I mean, like, of the of Homelander's team. I mean, I know some of them he rules by fear or whatever, and I'm just judging by the show. I didn't actually read the comic, but I know, like, fucking a bunch of them, like, the Deep is a rapist, the fucking... I forget, there's a couple other... Oh, yeah, the Speedy guy.
A-Train, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that it's slightly different in the comics. In the show, as you might remember, it's the Deep who has Starlight give him oral sex in order to join the Seven. Whereas in the comic, it was Homelander and A-Train pretty much going to town on Starlight.
Yeah, and the whole point of that is that, like, oh, all these people with massive power, they're not all going to be morally perfect. They might put up that public image, but I think it's meant to be like a more realistic take on how people would act if they got powers. Yeah, it's not like just, oh, what if Superman was evil? Like, that story's a little bit more far-fetched than that, where it's like, what if the whole institution of heroes was not evil, but just, like, completely corrupt and, like, self-serving? So, I don't know. And then Omni-Man is just, like, a whole different story. Like, he literally comes to Earth as a conqueror initially. It's not like he gets corrupted or whatever.
Yeah.
Versions of Superman like Ultraman, the Red Sun timeline, where Superman lands in Soviet Russia instead of Kansas, or the Injustice timeline, where after Joker manages to blow up Metropolis and trick Superman into killing Lois Lane with Scarecrow fear poison, Superman becomes a dictator of the world, reigning in crime with a fascist regime.
What was that?
Surprised he didn't bring out the Kingdom Come iteration of Superman.
Yeah, he might still. He seems to be rifling through all the evil Superman versions.
To be fair, Kingdom Come Superman isn't really all that bad. The conflict in that is a bit more gray. Anyway.
I just love this art in this movie. His, like, abs and his pecs kind of merge into one.
Yeah.
And this suit, it's like they just keep getting bigger until they turn into his chest.
Yeah.
And this became the face of Superman.
No.
I think directly because of Frank Miller.
Like, people literally bitch about this all the time. They're always like, you've done evil Superman again? That's boring. Like, you are not the one to, like, go against the grain here. You're just reiterating everybody's fucking complaint about all the evil Superman storylines.
The first guy to critically twist Superman around like this as a stooge for America, we began to take the American way and confuse it with the worst aspects of the American military during the Cold War,
Oh, no,
and
we did
later
not.
on the War on Terror.
That's a lie.
nobody takes that as the mainline Superman. I don't even think that's how he meant it to be a statement. It's not a critique even of America, really. It's just like the different ideals of the two different characters and why they come into conflict. And even in The Dark Knight Returns, it's not like that. He's like corruptible, but in a different way. In the same way Batman's corruptible if he kills his villains, like Superman's corruptible if he gives in too much to authority.
Yeah.
I don't know where the hell he's going with this. It's like he's made this whole theory in his head that The Dark Knight Returns influenced every other Superman story and that they're all meant to be a statement about the military.
While other characters of Captain America would take these real-life conflicts and use it to evolve the dynamic the character had with his country, Superman felt divorced from that.
No.
He was following not the reality of the military, but a dream, a singular dream. But did it work? I think to counterbalance the narrative.
The American Dream, hardly plays a factor in a Superman story. Superman's stories have more to do with, science fiction in general, aliens coming to Earth, fucking, his Kryptonian heritage, just, godly power. It's more to do with that. Honestly, the American Dream is not a recurring theme in Superman at all. It really, really isn't.
It's not the American Dream, but his being raised in America and being an American icon. I usually think of it as more his values are very small town America.
Yes.
And it's in the origin of his story. So yeah, it's not going to constantly play into the story. He's not constantly going back to Kansas to fight some guy who's buying up Kansas farms or something. Obviously, he's a fucking planetary hero.
Yeah, tell me, Ant, what does the storyline Kryptonite Nevermore have to do with the American Dream, just for example? Obviously it doesn't.
No, it's all influenced by being an immigrant, obviously.
Yeah.
All of his...
That I'm just talking about. Works began to push harder against the idea that Superman was just a stooge for the government, because he never really was in the comics. Superman always fought tyrants and those who would oppress the small and vulnerable. Brainiac harvest and shrank cities for his own curiosity. Mongol ran an intergalactic empire, a dictatorship of his own making. And Darkseid reigns the god of evil itself.
Mongol only runs one planet, and it's War World, so he doesn't run an empire, no.
I don't know what they do on that world.
What, Evan?
He literally just wants to be entertained.
Yes.
He just wants to watch people beat the shit out of each other. If anything, he's like an intergalactic wrestling fan.
My man, hell yeah.
I was gonna say somebody needs to get him some long distance cable. He can watch WWE and not have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Anyway.
A true tyrant. How can it get worse than that? But ask anyone who Superman's arch enemy is and was, it would always come down to one guy.
Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mind.
Let me guess. Lex Luthor means that he's against capitalism, and that's what the writers were clearly trying to convey. Because Lex Luthor is a businessman who is also evil.
He didn't even start off as a businessman. Right here, he's just a bad scientist.
Now, for the Silver and Bronze Age, Luthor was a demented scientist with ambitions of world domination and power, who would create these elaborate schemes to ensnare Superman and gain power in society. But after Crisis on Infinite Earths, characters were redesigned, reinvented for the modern era, and Lex Luthor was maybe reinvented the best out of everyone. He was no longer a mad scientist working on the underground of society, reigning in the Injustice League's dens. Rather, he was a corrupt businessman, a billionaire. He saw himself as a gift from God to the world. But Superman was a threat to his ego. I mean, his position of authority, I mean to say. Yes. Superman...
He really impressed himself with that correction there.
Yeah. Jacob says...
seem meaningless by comparison.
Jacob says Superman is a Marxist, according to Ant. He's probably gonna get there soon. Who knows?
He's certainly not American.
Harrison, what's the point of working hard when a man can be born with immense power like Superman? And Lex, he felt threatened by that. I mean, he was protecting humanity's interests. His ego wasn't at all threatened by the presence of a man who could jump a building in a single bound. No, or take a flying bullet to the face. No. Lex was in humanity's defense. He was on humanity's side.
Feel that, Kent. Real muscle. Not the gift of alien biochemistry. The product of hard work.
He was fighting Superman for the sake of mankind. Because how can we allow this all-powerful alien just run amok in society? Right? That's what he wanted. Right?
Next to Superman, even Lex Luthor's greatness is overshadowed.
Again, pre-crisis, Lex represented the evil potential of mankind. A genius who used his gifts for selfish ends, who held court with other villains to gain power. But post-crisis, we saw that Lex had all the power any human being could ever want. And he still felt small standing beside Superman.
Yes,
and he couldn't deal with it. Lex Luthor, in many ways, now stood as a parallel to Bruce Wayne or even Tony Stark, in that they were both these brilliant men, these rich genius billionaires who used their wealth to enact an agenda of a grand nature. It just so happened that Lex's agenda was to destroy Superman out of his own petty sense of envy and jealousy for the things Superman had inherently.
Okay, so they're like completely different then.
Yeah.
Because I can't really picture Batman or Iron Man really doing that, making that their obsession over helping people.
No.
Seems like they're completely opposite fucking characters morally.
Yeah.
But how does this factor into the American way and Superman? Well, Lex represented the American reality. That some people can achieve their dreams, but on the way to the top, they kick people down all the way down the ladder. Lex was given great privilege, great power, great money, and used that to cut off the ability for others to reach them.
Holy cow, he's making it a whole classicism statement. The entire character of Lex Luthor. Pretty sure he'd be a dick even if he was poor. I don't know what you're talking.
Their goals. He hurt innocent people all along the way to bettering himself, all the while making himself out to be this example of what people can be if they just tried hard enough. It's essentially late-stage capitalism. He got his by exploiting others, by abusing others.
So basically, Ant is going to say that Lex Luthor is a villain because hard work shouldn't matter at all, and everybody should just get the same thing, I guess, because capitalism bad.
Somehow, yeah.
Capitalism bad, suit bad, bald head bad.
And Superman really represents communism if you think about it.
Oh, he's probably gonna make that soon.
People through the systems that were legal, that existed, and then subverting it.
Superman would be against people calling out DEI and handout programs, obviously. That's what Lex Luthor would be, just like Donald Trump.
Legal system to further
Lex Luthor is obviously a symbol of white supremacy. Hell, he's got the bald head for it. He's a skinhead.
He's just like Joe Rogan. You see how they're both bald? Clearly the same person.
Himself as this great man, and nowhere is that more clear than during No Man's Land and Luthor's subsequent election as President of the United States. Lex Luthor becoming President of the United States, I don't need to tell you that's bad. Now granted, Luthor became President in part thanks to how he helped rebuild Gotham.
Well, you did tell us it was bad in the last video numerous times.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you've changed your stance on stating the obvious.
Yeah.
In the wake of No Man's Land, an event where Gotham was completely decimated in a freak earthquake. Crime spread throughout the streets of Gotham. Gangs rose up. The police and Batman were helpless to save Gothamites from the rising tides of crime. And Luthor came in to rebuild the city. But granted, he didn't come in to rebuild because he was just the right guy at the right time. He kept relief efforts from reaching Gotham, so he could instead go in and provide relief efforts. He prevented reconstruction from occurring until he had his name plastered over it. He was not doing this out of altruistic joy or a need to help the common man, but rather a desire to promote his brand as Lex Luthor, which he leveraged to become president.
Vote Lex
Now,
2000.
Lex was fairly elected. Superman didn't protest the results of the election, though he never trusted Luthor. And for
Mr.
good
President.
reason. See, Luthor promised to share his immense wealth and technology with the American people, placing a flying car in every garage, a clear and direct satire of the Republican Party's slogan during the election of Herbert Hoover. A chicken in every pot and a car in every garage. Now, in case you forgot your American history, it is because of Hoover that the Great Depression occurred.
That's pretty debatable. No.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it happened pretty near the beginning of his presidency, so you can't really blame it on him. And also, there was a whole confluence of events from weather disasters and the American crops to the stock market being overinflated and having a crash right as he took office. There was a gazillion things that fed into that. It wasn't Herbert Hoover pulling some switch.
Yeah, Ant.
More
hang on,
concerning.
Jacob. Ant thinks any bald person is a bad guy. Probably, yeah.
He's a baldist. He probably hates Asmongold.
It wasn't even their phrase originally. Henry IV from France said a chicken in every pot first.
Okay,
Though I don't
so
think he predicted the car in every garage part, considering that he said this in the 16th century.
So
now,
what?
add to that, Luther's cabinet included General Sam Lane and Amanda Waller.
Included a black woman, clearly a Democrat.
Yeah.
We'll get to them later when we discuss My Adventures with Superman. Luther as president then used the resources.
Isn't that's that shit like anime imitation show?
That show
Goes to the-
that show has such an ugly ass art style. I swear to God. Briscoe
United States to elevate his.
Briscoe, didn't Oprah always hand out cars? She did that one time, and she's never living it down.
You get a car. You get a car.
Own status and fight the Imperiex War before turning his attention once again, as it always will be, on Superman, the one threat to his authority. Now, when a kryptonite meteorite
You just said he wasn't a threat to his authority because he accepted the results of the election.
Hang on.
the
Jacob says Asmongold is the ambassador of the neckbeard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
Lex used the tragedy as leverage to motivate the American government to target Superman, who he blamed for the disaster. Lex Luthor represents the very thing that Manchester Black was complaining Superman represented, verbatim. He is the same sort of authority figure Frank Miller said Superman bowed to. And yet in the comics, Luthor is the enemy of Superman. He's a tyrant, using his power for selfish ends. It doesn't matter where he comes from. A tyrant is a tyrant. It could be an alien in space or seated in the Oval Office. If you abuse the power that you earn, Superman will face you and return power to those who deserve it most. To protect the vulnerable, the downtrodden. To work for truth, justice, and the American way. A way that has no kings, a way that has no dictators in charge. That's the American way.
Right.
And Luthor stood in opposition to it. Very transparently, the comics. This is a complete in contrast to The Dark Knight Returns, where Ronald Reagan plays a very similar role that Luthor plays in the mainstream DC comics. Yes, Reagan was a real person, and thus we have to apply the real standards of history to him. It's a little...
Was Reagan trying to take everything over in The Dark Knight Returns? Or was he just like, we can't let Batman rule a city? Anyways.
Easier to say no kings and tyrants with a fictional president than a real president. Oh, and by the way, while the President Luthor plot was going on in the main comics, The Dark Knight Strikes Again, Frank Miller's sequel to the influential The Dark Knight Returns, came out. In The Dark Knight Strikes Again, Lex Luthor steals the presidency by replacing the president with a hologram and blackmails Superman, Wonder Woman, and Captain Marvel into subservience by threatening to destroy the bottled city of Kandor with Brainiac for some reason.
At least he's calling him Captain Marvel and not fucking Shazam.
Just compare the two. How Superman reacted to Luthor winning a fair election and becoming a president, to Luthor stealing the Oval Office. Which one do you think is a betrayal of Superman's uncompromising morality and ethos? Superman does not bow to whoever's in charge of a country. Rather, he wants to make sure that everyone has a chance at happiness. A chance to pursue their dreams and add value to the world. The pursuit of happiness. And other adaptations continued this full well. In Zack Snyder's Superman, with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and even Justice League, Superman does work with the American military to fight Zod. And the Martian Manhunter literally works behind the scenes in the military for his own ends. But Superman acts as he sees fit, without regards for borders or regulations. He does the right thing on his own terms, even though the world at large grows to fear him. Something that Luthor himself exploits in Batman v Superman. While he subjects himself to the American government's authority, he does so for mankind's comfort, not because he actually thinks that they deserve to govern over him.
You let them handcuff you?
Wouldn't be much of a surrender if I resisted, and if it makes him feel more secure. Then all the better for it.
While Snyder's depiction of Superman is problematic for many reasons, that core is inherently Superman standing for the American way, right then and there. Though they scoff at it and avoid mentioning it, it is still the core element of Superman that is still present in Man of Steel. Though Snyder does lift heavily from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, at no point is Superman ever a stooge.
Mainly aesthetically. He doesn't make him work. Yeah, he doesn't have any of the same sort of setup for it. There's no, like, 20 years of retirement for Batman. It's mainly just the suit is pretty much the main influence from it. And that he's not like crazily aligned with Superman beforehand. That's pretty much where the similarities end.
Like he is in The Dark Knight Returns, even when copying scenes directly from The Dark Knight Returns. Superman is treated constantly as this outsider in Zack Snyder's world. He's generally accepted once people know he's one of the good aliens. You know, one of the good ones. But he's still treated like an outsider by many.
Yes.
In Batman.
Dude, in fucking... Excuse them for not just instantly accepting, considering that their introduction to these crazy aliens was one saying that they want to rule over the fucking world in Zod's broadcast. He's like, oh, these prejudiced Earthlings who are one of the good ones. I can't believe they don't just instantly trust everything.
Yeah.
And especially Lex Luthor. Over time, Superman finds acceptance in Zack Snyder's DCEU. This is not the case, however, with My Adventures with Superman.
Who are you? And why are you on Earth?
I don't know. My Adventures with Superman is one of my all-time favorite adaptations of the comics.
You're an idiot.
No other series, I think, adapts Superman's kindness, empathy, and genuine human nature better than this one.
How did you know you'd be bulletproof?
I didn't. I just knew that you weren't.
In regards to Superman as a representative of the American way, the show does a lot of things very interesting that I want to discuss.
No, it doesn't.
Superman's primary adversary throughout the entire series is the United States government. Now, previously, General Sam Lane, Lois Lane's dad, and Amanda Waller had to fend off invading Kryptonian forces who had arrived on Earth briefly before being stopped. Now, these forces, we find out later, were led by Brainiac, who had taken over the Kryptonian technology after destroying all of Krypton, with only Kara Zor-El, the last Kryptonian aside from Kal-El, remaining as his primary enforcer. Though, to be his enforcer, she's erased of all her personal agency and even her free will. Brainiac has become a dictator over the remnants of Krypton, and because of that, the American government fears all Kryptonians, especially Superman. So, naturally, they've treated Superman as an invading army, a force from another world crossing over borders to infest and demolish the American way of life. Superman is quite literally an illegal alien, and is treated as a representative of an invading force, despite the...
It's not because he's not a citizen that they don't like him. It's because they were fucking attacked, and he has massive power that can literally wipe out the entire city.
Hang on. Jacob, Ant was at the No Kings protest, probably. Jacob,
of course.
Jacob is also like... Anyway.
fact,
Once again, he's just kind of recapping the show. Okay.
He knows nothing about his home heritage. And so he's pitted against Sam Lane, the father of the girl he loves, Amanda Waller.
Yeah, really. He always has to have it exposited by one person or another.
Waller, who is a sociopath, to put it mildly, and also Lex Luthor. He's dead too. In the process, several classic DC characters are reinterpreted as enforcers of the government or capitalism, with Parasite becoming this corrupt
As enforcers of the government or capitalism. Wow, okay. Apparently America is the only capitalist nation.
business owner, a corrupt business executive who gains power by draining people beneath him, sucking them dry till bones remain. Or Deathstroke the Terminator, who becomes a major enforcer of Task Force X, a stooge of the government. Who are you?
Oh, that's easy, Superman. We're the good guys.
Much like how Superman was in Dark Knight Returns. Yet despite all this, Superman represents the very same thing he represented in the comics all this time. He just wants to protect those who matter. The defenseless, the vulnerable. At the end of the day, Superman just wants to protect those who need protection. Every time, always. Even his enemies he shows sympathy for. Those who choose to remain his villains do so because they want power or wealth at the expense of others. And no matter how many times Superman shows mercy, they refuse the olive branch and instead choose to hurt people more and more. The easy path to success versus the hard path that helps better the world. The problem is not that Superman has changed. He's been consistent. He's the same person we had in the 30s, no matter what else changed about his powers, his costumes, etc. Who writes and who draws them. Yes, Frank Miller can ruin the character in his own little way, but the character remains
Boy, you
still
really have a
young.
hate boner for Frank Miller, dude.
Probably because Frank Miller's an Islamophobe who made Holy Terror.
Yeah.
Miller. He stands for the same core values in the 30s. The difference is we call these old-fashioned now, but these values are universal. Support those who are vulnerable.
Yes,
Oppose
the
those who
American
are
way is
All-town American
universal.
values.
Yes, the American way is universal. Thanks, Ann. Thanks for telling us.
want to hurt the vulnerable. Truth, justice, the American way. It just so happens that these things we call the American way, they were formed in an era where we opposed the Nazis. But those values are now called a better tomorrow. The same values that drove us to fight oppression is now tomorrow's dream. You'd think a better tomorrow would come sooner.
America's regressed. Oh my god.
Turtle face. Looks like Mitch McConnell.
But Superman has always represented that mankind can be better than we currently are, that we can progress further than we currently are. The comics today don't always succeed at showing us this. There are famous moments, of course, where they don't write Superman perfectly well.
And when they
The
do,
Over
they
There speech,
suck.
for example.
It's like no
Over
one...
there has to stand for itself.
Oh my god, I remember this shit. It was dumb as all hell.
Ooh, and from now on, my eye will be right there.
In the JMS comic Superman Grounded, very famous speech, where Superman argues that we can only
Dumb
take
speech.
care of our place here. If we prevent evil from happening here, that's enough. Sure, a criminal might leave and go over there, but as JMS says through Superman, over there will just have to take care of itself. Which, no, that's not how it works, actually. Superman is not about taking care of here and letting over there take care of its own problems. See, Superman's idea of protecting the innocent and vulnerable has nothing to do.
Superman world police then, by your logic, by what you're saying?
Yes, in Justice, Superman is the ideal version, obviously. He needs to take care of everything.
With geographic location. This isn't Candide by Voltaire, where we're tending to our own gardens. No,
Bro,
no.
one fucking cares about Voltaire.
Superman
Stick to
is a
Superman.
hero.
My gosh, he's gonna go off on a whole tangent because this one speech in a comic people don't like.
For
Yeah.
everyone, everywhere.
He's
This
really
isn't
an
about the realities of the community.
Yes.
He
What
is,
was that?
yes.
He probably does throw the whole Voltaire thing just to show, hey guys, I'm intelligent.
Oh yeah, definitely. Ant is definitely a guy who does, yeah, like again, like I said, Ant just needs an outlet to flex his nerd cred, man. Oh, yeah.
I'm incredibly insecure about how people perceive me, so
From John Locke.
I have to quote from John Locke. Yeah, he'll bring up some old literature in every video because he's so insecure about how people see how smart he is.
Yep.
Superman isn't Spider-Man or Luke Cage,
No
where
one said
they're
he
their
was.
local, friendly neighborhood hero, where they have to defend the neighborhood from threats within and without. No,
said he
Superman
was.
is a hero for the planet Earth. He's the idea that goodness transcends borders. There is
So
no
does the
limitation
American
to
way.
Superman's jurisdiction because everywhere needs a hero who
And-
can stand up alongside them.
Nobody's saying that the American way is exclusive to America. The American way can easily be done anywhere.
This is again just a matter of practicality with their powers, which is kind of came up during the villain stories where he's like, this guy doesn't take control of the minds of the entire universe. It's like, yeah, it's because he can't. He's just a normal dude. Same thing with Luke Cage and Spider-Man, where he's like, oh, they're neighborhood heroes. They're not like super. It's like if they had the power, they would certainly do what Superman has and help everybody everywhere. Like, it's not a matter of them having a different mentality or being written differently morally. It's the fact that he can fly super fast and go around the world in a split second.
Yeah.
People who argue Superman's altruism is conditional, that he only cares about a certain type of person and not another, is antithetical to who Superman is.
No one said it
But this
was.
mentality
Dean Cain slams Superman's son coming out. I don't think it's bold or well, yeah, he's right there.
He's right there since everyone's doing it, yeah.
Bandwagoning it totally
is pervasive in modern discussion about Superman. Because a huge chunk of people don't actually read comics, however, relatively small stories that gain publicity become huge talking points even in mainstream publications like Fox News and the Wall Street Journal, such as John Kent, Superman's son, a recent character, coming out as bisexual. This was reported by multiple outlets as Superman becoming bisexual. Superman being Clark Kent, not John Kent, who is a totally different character. Great journalism skills there, buddy.
Bruh, when his son is calling himself Superman, you can't blame them. And you just said not many people read comic books. I mean, cut them some slack. I mean, yeah, you can call him out for getting it wrong, but bro, you just admitted that this shit is really fucking obscure to the average layman. Like,
And you, citing a bunch of comics, have completely misinterpreted multiple things in this video.
and other videos, yeah.
You're fighting ghosts, bro. See, Superman's not a spearhead of the military. Nobody was saying that.
But this is nothing new. Action Comics 900 saw Superman revoke his American citizenship in a story penned by David S. Goyer, the same writer who worked on Batman Begins and Man of Steel, and Blade 3, but let's not talk about that. Now, in context, the story.
So basically, he wrote a couple shitty movies and and a shitty comic, it seems.
Superman is confronted about how his actions in other countries might be seen internationally as acts of American aggression. So Superman becomes a citizen of the world instead of one singular country to show how his actions are not reflective of the military actions of any one nation. It makes sense. In fact, he does this in service of America to keep them out of trouble internationally. However, when the story dropped, people interpreted it as Superman rejecting America as a country. It got so bad that Chuck Dixon, a comic book author who had...
Yeah, that was a pretty stupid twist from the way you just explained it. Like, what, people are going to start the American government just has to come out one time and say, we have no authority over Superman.
Yeah.
Like, as evidenced by the fact that he's never fighting in any of our wars. So there, boom, done. He doesn't have to revoke his citizenship.
Bada bing, bada boom.
And also, how the fuck do they even know? I guess just because he speaks with an American accent, that is the only reason they would even know that he's American anyway. It's not like he goes, hey, by the way, I'm from Kansas.
Has written but a lot of Batman and Punisher books. He wrote this op-ed for the Wall Street Journal about how this comic represented the comic industry's descent into liberal propaganda.
Yes.
By the way, in case you're curious, Chuck Dixon now writes for Eric July, who himself works for Glenn Beck's Blaze Media, a right-wing media outlet. Yeah, Dixon, tell us more about political bias in media. What is so ridiculous about
Oh. So only right-wing political bias exists. There's a reason that you say notable right-wing actor Dean Cain's, because it is notable that he's right-wing, because there's so fucking few of them.
Yeah, yes, Jacob, this guy is still on this shit, yes.
Is that the people
Since we're on that topic, if you guys were wondering if there's like a quote-unquote left-leaning Superman, I think the closest that we would get is Christopher Reeve, and purely because when he got into that wheelchair after the accident, he appeared in front of some award show and then urged the Academy to make more films that cover social issues.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, a ton of actors and now modern comic writers are, of course, super left-wing. Like, that's been the whole shtick. And then every time that anybody goes against it, then they're like, oh my gosh, this is propaganda. Oh my gosh, this is so political. Yeah,
and
that's why he's angry animated.
And he was very mad and angry.
And the reason I bring that up is because of Christopher Reeve's views, he unintentionally destroyed Superman 4 because he was the one that urged him.
He was the guy who urged the whole anti-nuke message in that film, yeah.
And the Ant would probably love that film if it came out today.
Probably, yeah.
News with you have a clear political bias. They don't read comics. They're just trying to stir up controversy.
Like that came out
a political bias? Oh.
And we should listen to you for the sheer fact that you read comics. And I still wouldn't listen to you even if you read every fucking comic in the fucking world. I just flat out just don't fucking buy into your bullshit, bro. And you can't make me.
And if he ever praises a story, that he'll never admit that he will be nicer to a story because it includes, a liberal value or it throws in some alphabet storyline. He'll never admit that. He's like, no, you only don't like it because it's left-wing. I would never like something because it's left-wing.
Sure.
I have no political bias. I am a god.
Yeah.
Of mainstream audiences who are basically disinterested in who any of these people are unless it intersects with their political worldview.
Oh, like
Hell,
you?
if anything, they only care about the headline.
Okay, how many times has a comic been praised because it's like, politically groundbreaking, or it paves new, or it makes a bold statement on blah 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 issue? Yeah, and it's always just like, oh, this character's bisexual, this character's trans, it's so brave. Oh, now all these people that are like that can see themselves. fucking whenever Black Panther came out, they acted like it was the first black superhero ever. And they're like, hey, we need to give it 99% because we're so afraid to criticize it because we'll be called racist.
Yeah.
Superman renouncing his citizenship, as I mentioned, was for America's own good. Yet it's reframed by those who didn't read the comic as an act of disgust in the face of America.
Well,
It's
typically an
completely
American
taken out of
character renouncing
context.
America is usually a bad thing. I'm just saying.
Also, the story's badly written for a different reason, but
Yeah.
In a way that's cartoonish. If anyone read the comics, they would know it's complete
they would say
nonsense,
this comic is shit.
But they don't. Whenever a director of a film, like say James Gunn, makes a statement that's pretty nonchalant, you'll always have at least one foolish, ridiculous
What's
grifter
nonchalant?
making
Let's
a
see.
dumb comment about it.
James Gunn says, battered Superman is a metaphor for the United States of America. And it's not a fascistic power fantasy. What the hell?
Yeah, that's pretty dumb as hell. That's
Superman
pretty
will
dumb as
always-
hell,
That's not a nonchalant statement. Saying that America is a battered, beaten, bloody in the snow, like...
That's pretty dumb, and yeah, Gunn deserves the heat he got over that, yeah.
In fact, the way Shad responded to it looked pretty nonchalant. He was just
Yeah.
kind of like,
If
he's
my
just kind of
dad,
like, what the
dude,
fuck?
dude, if Dad Cedar saw that quote, he most certainly would not be nonchalant. Yeah.
Topple dictatorships to protect the vulnerable, no matter where those dictatorships might be. He will fight oppression to protect those who are vulnerable, despite who is being oppressed. There is no condition to that statement. He will always value people, regardless of who they are or what they're
Every man, I am a
like.
real American. Fight for your rights. Fight for your... Yeah. Anyway.
I like, I think in his version, like, he must think that if a right-winger wrote Superman, that he would have not stopped the plane, or that he would be, like, endorsing the KKK or some shit. Like, he has this cartoonish, just by the examples he's showing that, like, he's not right-wing, that
Yeah.
he's doing all these good things. He's like, because they're the evil version of all this.
Yeah.
Superman is someone who does not have power that he abuses or uses power to control others. He uses his power to lead by example, to help everyone be the best version of themselves that they are. And a fascistic power fantasy that always oppresses a certain person who you can pin society's problems onto. It is not a return to the past, but
Look, it's Ant making a stupid point.
a new step forward, a better tomorrow. The problem is people confuse old-fashioned American values with being traditional, as in never breaking the pattern of what came before. But that's not Superman. He is accepting of all people. Because for him, all suffering is the same. All pain is the same.
Those are two
Something you have
completely
to push
unrelated
to
points.
avoid, to
Yeah.
overcome. And in this sense, Superman is the best version of us that we could ever dream of being. He is a better tomorrow. He is indicative of what we can do if we just work together. If we all saw that all suffering is interconnected in some way
How
and
about
fight
if we
to
all
eliminate the
work
core
towards
root,
the American
oppression.
way,
The-
Ants? How about that?
Exactly. The American way for all the world. I agree.
Hell yeah, bro.
idea that we can use our position in society to better ourselves at the expense of someone else.
Superman stands for truth, justice, and the American way. From the very beginning, from his inception.
Superman sees the world as full of people who are suffering under the thumb of someone powerful and dangerous. And that if we try to help...
Oh, he sees certain parts that he fights against as suffering under that. And that's one possible villain.
Yeah.
You seem to think that that's all he's ever stood for, is that, like, it's always about some evil political tyrant. That's, like, some of his villains. And then other ones are crazy robots that try to assimilate culture.
Yeah.
Those who are vulnerable find happiness, find joy, that the world can be better. It is an ideal. It's a dream. It is affected by reality, and several heroes in comics do discuss the reality between the hope of making people better and the difficulties ahead. But Superman doesn't use his powers to just punch the problem. It's not that simple. He uses power to lead by example, to motivate us to follow him. That's what makes Superman so great, and what people don't get about Superman. He is not a tyrant. He can't just take over the world and control it and make us...
He seems to think that, like, oh, Jesus, good thing I made this video, because otherwise everybody would think that Injustice Superman is just the normal character. It's like, I don't think anybody was under that misconception. And we also don't associate that one with the one that keeps his American values. Like, that's the one that's fallen off that path and lost those values.
Yeah.
So thank you for making the point.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Be better. That's what Injustice Superman does, and it's a negative horror story. No. What Superman does is he wants to lead by example, to show that we can love each other. And yet people are so toxic in this world, so angry about that message, so afraid of that message this very day. Why is that? Why are we so afraid of a story where a character says we have to love each other? Why do we fight that constantly? Why is it when the comics bring up someone who is loved?
And this is fucking Superman, not fucking Care Bears, okay?
So if Superman doesn't want some pandering, lame story, he's clearly a fascist or some shit, or he's Injustice Superman. Like, he's trying to draw this dichotomy that doesn't exist. He seems to think all these altruistic values only apply if you support all the current things. And it's just like, and he's like, so therefore, he's always been about a better tomorrow, which means that he's supported trans people. It's like, it makes no fucking sense.
No.
Who is different by Superman. We oppose it as a society. We make a big broadcast on Fox News about it. Why do we do that? Why is the message of love so controversial this very day? Perhaps it's because
it's not anti-love.
The idea of truth, justice, the American way is still a controversial statement. Something that people who claim they embody these American ways hates more than anything else. Perhaps the big thing is that we treat kindness as a controversial act.
Oh my god, what are you?
Well,
fucking, oh
if
my
that's
god,
the case, then we'll always need.
Fucking
I
Christ.
don't know. I don't know who he's talking about here. Who are these people that see a kind act and go, we're going to kill you?
We're gonna kill him with
If
kindness.
we respond to the idea of kindness and love with anger, there will always be a need for someone to bring us closer to the light. There will always be need for a Superman.
Oh my
and that's
god,
why stories like What's So
bro,
About Truth, Justice, and the American Way are so important
you're
today.
acting like
Dream-
Superman is Jesus.
You also want Superman to be the thought police, apparently.
Yeah, hang on, Briscoe. Why is it this guy is a complete fucking idiot stick? Because he's Aunt Briscoe, that's why.
I feel like he's just been repeating the same line for about 40 minutes. It's just like, Superman embodies altruistic values, and he's not in the military. That's basically been the entire video ad nauseum. He's brought up 5 million examples to just prove that same point that nobody ever argued with.
Dreams can elevate us. Dreams can carry us into a better tomorrow. To lead by example so that we can embody some of these, even a fraction of what this man represents in fiction. Fiction is not reality. It can never be reality.
Thanks,
but it can motivate us to be.
That's because it's fiction. It's almost like these two opposite words can't be each other. Whoa. Ant went to the library and it had fiction and nonfiction sections, and he was like, oh my god, I need to make a video off of this. I just realized something, guys. These aren't the same place. Whoa.
Better versions of ourselves through the example set by a fictional standard. And I ask you this, as a parting thought. If you love this story of a man who wants to just help people live, then what's stopping us from doing the same thing in today? From doing our small little part to help even over here be better? And if we're all over here, then over there might go no.
Who's against helping people? I don't know. Who are you arguing against?
And I don't want to read when I go to this comic book store and I pick up a Superman comic. I don't want to fucking read Superman help people live. I want to see Superman fight fucking bad guys. How about that?
It's always save the cat from the tree and shit too. He's a fucking Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Like, who's like, oh man, Superman needs to stop helping people? Like, I don't know.
He can help by saving the damn world. How about that?
Yeah, he's also the more actiony elements that like you seem to be against. Whenever he's fighting the tyrants you're talking about, that's still helping people. Like, I don't even know what he's arguing against
know-
here. I
you
guess
know-
he just wanted to bring up Eric July or something.
You know, John, this reminds me a lot about Ant's Magneto video. Now, you didn't really bring it up, but when I did with Kino and Jan, Ant just seems to really fucking hate it when superheroes resolve conflicts with fights and whatnot. This just seems like an extension of that. Like, he just wants Superman to help people. Okay, fine, but like, bro, it's an action comic book. It's like,
Not to mention, Superman should be doing stuff like even without like conflicts and all that. He should be looking for any possible problem that the Earth could face in the future and just resolving it simply because he can.
yes.
Yeah, well, and
Like, for example, like a fucking meteorite that would be coming to Earth in like 10 years from now. If Superman caught wind of it, he will literally go into space, find said meteorite, and then redirect it to ensure it will never come across Earth's orbit.
Yep.
Superman, he's trying to create this dichotomy where he's like, well, either you're an evil right-wing grifter who doesn't support every single twist and turn that they put in the comics, or you support Superman being a good person. Which one are you? It's like, well, no, I think the fucking John Kent being fucking bisexual is stupid, and also I like Superman saving people. So what now? I've ruined your perfect dichotomy that you tried to make.
Also, John Kent has become completely useless in the comics anyway. It's like,
That's all they're going to use him for is just to have that stupid headline.
yeah, it's like the minute the buzz about him being bisexual happened, everyone dropped him like a fucking rock. And now they've gone full back in, all in on Connor Kent now. So yeah, Connor's just like, sorry, not Connor. John is just completely useless. Like, they could literally retcon him out after the next Crisis event and say that Clark and Lois never had a kid, and you'd literally lose nothing. That's how irrelevant he is now.
Or rather, if we all help with our little communities and tend your own gardens, make it better over here and over there, will be a better place. Following the example of a character over here.
Can you show us what the original Superman looked like?
Here's the pencil sketch of the original Superman. That was the first cover of the Superman book. That was 1939.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how he appeared.
In 2021, DC...
Shit. I meant to click pause.
Well, that was fucking terrible. So let's go, like, final thoughts about both the videos we saw. Hang on. What? Alright, don't worry, I'm done. I'm wrapping up now. Alright. Anyway, so basically, closing arguments. Evan, what do you think of these two videos?
I will say the first one was kind of slightly, interesting. But I will say the number one pick for which supervillain could hypothetically rule the Earth as president or whatever was kind of predictable. Second video, on the other hand, it kind of dragged on it. Out of all of Ant's videos, this particular one did feel like he recited the same point over and over and over again, only this time he worded it different, so we probably wouldn't know that he's just reciting the same argument.
Yeah, John.
That's one thing, right?
Yeah, John, closing argument.
It's pretty much he's this one, he basically like went round and round making the same point just to try and draw in something about being like anti-right wing, so he could put his little angry avatar up on the screen about how everybody doesn't get the comics and that Superman's really been Superman's basically just like him, I think he's trying to say. I don't know. So, yeah, pretty retarded. And then, yeah, the villain one, I mean, it was just pretty much him just recapping wikis the entire time about worlds where those villains did take over at some point, doing no speculation, having no intelligence thought of his own, like, thrown in there or, anything actually interesting to say. So very boring, and then very forced political commentary on the second one.
Yeah, it's like, so for the first video, again, like most of that video is just saying it's like this villain shouldn't rule the world because like they're kind of a genocidal asshole, and then for like the last four, he was like they might be good, but they're still like kind of assholes. But Loki's the best because he doesn't give a shit about running anything. And then for this video, again, it's just like he just wasted everyone's fucking time by saying Superman is a good person, so you should be a good person too by not being a right winger. So, and of course, our guest honor this evening, Mr. President, what are your thoughts on these two videos here? What do you make of Ant?
Well, much like Joe Biden in our debate, I don't really know what the hell he was saying there, and I don't think he does either. And and this guy, he may be even dumber than Kamala. I didn't think I'd meet anybody like that, but he's really, really bad. I think he needs to find a good woman, and she needs to slap the shit out of him and get him in line and teach him some good American values because America is beautiful, and that's why we celebrate it today because America's great, like Superman.
And with that, we close out our 4th of July special on the Backseat Boys. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment below if you love it, subscribe if you want videos like this, and we'll see you guys next time in the Backseat. Take care!
Cheers.